Ready? All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is the time and place set for the April 2015 regular meeting of the Royal Oak Planning Commission. I'll call the meeting to order, and I'll ask the panel commissioners to introduce themselves. Starting down here with Mr. Murphy.
Joseph Murphy, Director of Planning.
Charlene Douglas, City Commissioner.
Tim Twing, Director of Community Development.
Josh Markham, City Attorney's Office.
Woody Gontina.
Jim Ellison.
Mike Fournier, Mayor.
And I'm the chairperson, Gary Casada. We got one more who needs to put his appearance on for the record, please. Well, take your time.
Good evening, Brian Cooper.
Thanks. Okay, so the first order of business here is to approve the meeting minutes for the March 11th meeting. Have the commissioners had a chance to look at these meeting minutes, and do they have any comments, corrections, or questions on the meeting minutes, or a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second? Motion to approve.
I second.
Second by Mr. Cooper. Any further discussion of the approval of the meeting minutes for March 11th? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to call for the voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Meeting minutes are approved. All right, the next order of business, new business, is the public hearing on the proposed Master Plan 2050, and I'm going to ask Mr. Twing to introduce us to this subject.
Well, I'm going to pass it on to Mr. Murphy. He's been leading the charge on the master plan project, so I'll let him lead you into before you start your public hearing.
Per the State Act, the Planning Commission needs to hold at least one required public hearing on the proposed master plan prior to adoption. So tonight is certainly that public hearing. We encourage the Planning Commission to consider all the public comments that you hear tonight. There may be some vantage points presented that you haven't thought of or considered, so we ask you to be open-minded. We do want to make this an orderly and expeditious process, so we suggest that those that, to the chair, recommend that to those that want to speak, that they create a single file line along the window, the exterior windows of the room, and those that speak can step forward after that individual has spoken for no more than 3 minutes. The next individual can proceed up, and we'll keep the process going versus asking people to raise their hands and picking on individual people to come and speak, and the delay in that process. We think it'd be more expeditious. So that's the suggestion that we offer. You have the opportunity to accept that or go in a different direction. Tonight is not a presentation. It's strictly for the public to provide us with their comment.
All right, and just to be clear, I had the question, why is the podium over there? It's because the idea here is that we'll have people line up along that wall who are going to speak. Now, there may be people who don't want to stand in line, elderly people. Those people, we want to let them know that they also are going to get a chance to speak. If you don't want to stand in line, that's okay. We'll wait for you when it's your turn to come up. But for most people, to make this a efficient public hearing, we're asking you to line up behind the podium and come up one at a time, introduce yourself. You have 3 minutes, and then move on. So that's the idea, correct? Okay. Mr. Mayor.
Are we going to go direct to the public hearing, or do we have the ability to ask staff questions, or?
You always have the ability to ask staff questions before we move on.
Okay.
And council.
Yeah, there's some static on the microphone that I hear. I don't know where that's coming from. Can you guys hear the static? Can you hear it now? Okay.
Yeah, so first off, appreciate everyone coming out tonight. This city hall was intended for public sessions like this and to accommodate comfortably everybody here. We look forward to hearing from all of you tonight. this is a pretty important discussion we've been having as a community for some time. This isn't the first time we've had this discussion in Royal Oak. We have previous plans going back to 1955, 1968, 1988, 1999, and now 26 years-ish later from our last plan. We're here again because it is the responsibility of the Planning Commission and ultimately the City Commission to take a look at what our master plan should look like. Things change. The world is not what it was in 1955, certainly isn't what it was in 1999 either. So why are we here today? Clearly, the world has changed around us. In fact, we see it changing even more rapidly as technology begins to become even a more important contributor, user of our lives. The way we live, the size of our families, what our families look like, how we work, where we shop, how we shop, where we get our goods, how those goods get delivered to our house. I don't think it's me. If we have, can we find out where that? Well, we'll just have to work through the static. In a plan from 26 years ago, I think we all agree needs some updating. I don't think any of us question the fact that the world has completely changed around. So we have mobile phones. Things are very different than they were in 1999. Some of the things that we have been focusing on here as far as this Planning Commission, and I'll say to the City Commission as far as our priorities, speaking on behalf of the City Commission, not for the City Commission. Like we said, things are changing. Factories in Royal Oak that were once industrial areas are now homes. Former auto repair shops are now restaurants. These are probably good things. In the macroeconomic sense, I don't like the idea of factories moving overseas, but in Royal Oak, this is where we're at today. What we want as a city, we want a place where people can age with dignity. We're not prepared, especially for what they call in Oakland County the silver tsunami. The baby boomer generation is retiring. They need to have places to live. I need to have places to live when I retire that aren't necessarily single-family homes. Our stock, our middle housing inventory is short on our needs. We need to have a community where people from all economic backgrounds can call home. If I look at my 3 kids, God willing, they grow up, they move on in life, and one of them decides to become a police officer, one of them decides to be a letter carrier, one decides to be an educator. We have to make sure that there's a place for our kids to call home in the city that they were raised in. And if we don't look forward now, or we don't plan for that, we don't think about that, then I say shame on us all. We have to make sure Royal Oak can remain a place for everyone, regardless of what your age is and regardless of what your socioeconomic background is. And so these are some of the priorities that we looked at in this master plan, some of the areas that we sought out from the public to get input on as it relates to how we refresh this master plan and deliver on our common priorities. And it's frustrating sometimes because we have heard folks say things that I'll say aren't fundamentally true. I'm not going to point the finger to anyone or say that people are misleading anybody, but when we hear things that this master plan wishes to destroy single-family homes, that is fundamentally untrue. It's crystal clear for the folks that have read the master plan and have heard the words coming from this body, from the City Commission, from our staff, from the experts and professionals that have been helping us with that's fundamentally untrue. It's ridiculous. I saw a flyer go out that had a skyscraper in the middle of a single-family neighborhood home. I mean, let's think about that on the surface. One, that's crazy out of the gate. Like, I don't know why anyone would think that. That's just bad planning. And number 2, like, what would be the motive and incentive of community volunteers here to say, oh yeah, let's just go and destroy single-family neighborhoods. I live in a single-family neighborhood. I like my neighborhood. I like my neighbors. I like the nice row of the houses. Everything's great. The idea
the idea that that would be like a mission of your neighbors that sit up here. You know what, Chair?
Hey, could we please keep to the quorum, please? You will have a chance to speak. Everybody gets a chance to speak. Mayor's turn.
Thank you, Chair. And some of the behavior we've seen and some of the ideas that if you disagree with somebody, they must be stupid or corrupt. I mean, that's just a really sad position to take. And it's really disheartening because we have important conversations here that we have to have as a community, and we have to base it in fact. And so we're not all going to agree. It would be crazy to have the idea that all of us are going to agree on everything all the time. But at least we can start to get closer to perhaps agreeing on what the facts are. That's a good place to start and really focus our energy on the things that we disagree with in terms of maybe location of things or really specific details in the plan that people feel uncomfortable with. But I can tell you, we've had nearly 10,000 inputs from residents. We've had a lot of information sessions, town halls, public hearings. We've found some consensus. Again, it doesn't mean that everybody is going to agree, and that if I disagree with you on a position that you take, I don't think you're stupid. I don't think you're corrupt. I just think we have different perspectives and different challenges that we're trying to address. So I think tonight we want to hear from everybody, and we hope and wish that everyone's going to be respectful of everybody else. So if you have something to say, let's hear it, but let's not take away from what others have to say if they disagree. Let's not interrupt the meeting. We have a news camera here tonight. Let's show the best of Royal Oak and conduct this meeting in a way that we can all be proud of. So.
Okay, before we move on any further, I'm a little disturbed by this static issue that seems to keep popping up. Do we have a tech support anywhere? Does anybody know? I mean, I don't know what's going on, but if that's going to go on all night, that's going to be an issue.
He's here, he's up in the cable office.
There's some way, you can hear that. I'm sorry, I'm just a little concerned about that. Does anybody have a way to address this? Why don't you put it back where it belongs? Mr. Twing?
There's only one mic working.
I don't have any way to address it.
What if we moved it away from, Mr. Cameraman, are you somehow on a wireless?
I think we're getting interference.
Okay, do we want to move it closer to us, to the podium here?
Well, but the camera's pointed there.
Well, the camera's pointed to the back of the speaker.
No, I think that he has a microphone up near our microphone that might be interfering with our microphone.
We're going to have our microphone swapped out for a new one, but it would be wise to have that removed.
So to have the news
That's what
medias?
that's what I was speaking about.
So this is, okay, I want to make sure. Mr. Cameraman, do you put a microphone next to our,
Yeah.
you did?
Yeah, it's a wireless microphone.
But can you not hear, do you not record what's going on without that microphone?
Yeah, it's a live feed going back right now.
Okay, well, we're very suspicious that that's causing the problem.
It's a little different.
Oh, here comes somebody, yes.
It wouldn't go through your guys' radio. I would only hear it on mine.
We're going to swap it out.
I wouldn't hear it through you guys' radio. Well, through you guys' speakers, only on mine.
Okay, all right. I'm not a tech guy, obviously. I think this is worth it, yeah, taking the time to do this. Okay. All right, don't go too far in case there's another problem. Okay. All right. Next, before we move on, does anybody have any other questions for council or for staff before we move to the public hearing? Okay, I do. And I'm going to follow up on the mayor's comment there. Mr. Mayor, respectfully, I'm not sure how crystal clear our plan is. It is clear to me because I've read it several times. And I want to bring up, if I can get Mr. Twing to bring up page 16 of the master plan. And then blow it up a little bit. Okay, so the way our consultant wrote this, it's probably not the way I would have done it, but what they've done is they've got these categories that are listed on the bottom of the page there. And one of the categories is neighborhood residential, another one is neighborhood edge. And I think these are the two that may be giving people some consternation here. Those categories, the way he's described them, our consultant, is as they exist, okay? The single-family neighborhoods in Royal Oak, well, some of them have no multifamily in them. Lots of them have multifamily in them. So instead of, I'm speaking as I understand this, I'm going to ask staff if they understand the same way. The reason he's calling it neighborhood residential is because it's not purely single-family. Okay, he's described it that way. As for neighborhood edge, those areas in the light yellow are a little more mixed with some businesses and more multifamily than single family. And again, that's just a description of them. Now, when you look at the bottom of this, and this is the future land use map, I just want to point out, this is the proposed future land use maps, and it says these are the areas of preservation that we are not, in this consultant is not saying, hey, you should do anything with these. Residential, neighborhood residential. All the gray areas on this future land use map are to be preserved. Neighborhood edge are to be preserved. At one of the meetings, I had somebody come and said, hey, how come that area south of Sherman is marked for neighborhood edge? We don't want that to change. Well, I didn't know the answer at the time, but I studied this, and indeed, that area, neighborhood edge, south of Sherman, is designated to stay as it is. It's to be preserved. It's not an area that we're looking to change or grow. There's other places that aren't looking to change. That's the parks, the open space, and the industrial. Those areas are not to be focused on for growth. It's not that you can't change. Of course, some people build new houses all the time, and they renovate their houses all the time. But they're not, as far as a land use planning proposition, they are not designated to change. Okay? I want to make that very clear. The areas that are going to change are the 15% that are represented on the other side of the page. It says areas for growth. And I just want to point out, again, I might not have done it this way myself, because one thing, it may be confusing people that single family doesn't show up on the right side, areas of preservation. I just want to point out, nobody has complained about the fact on the left side, the areas of growth, the word business and the word commercial don't appear either. That doesn't mean we're not going to have business and commercial in the areas of growth. Of course we are. But that's the way he drafted it, okay? You have to, that was his choice to do it that way. And I just want to be clear that that's the way that's what it means as it's written. Does staff read that any other way?
No, I do not. As it's noted in the written description too, the future land use categories describe the general character that different portions should exhibit in the future.
Yes, and that means that the gray and the light yellow areas are supposed to be like they are. That's the point of it. I have another question now for council. One of the things we've heard, and by the way, let me just stop myself. One of the reasons it prompted me was not just the mayor, is because we've had many written comments that come in. I did a quick sort of study. There was about 380 different written comments. I've read every single one of them. And some of them, I think, exhibit some confusion here. Also, this one, I'm looking at the statute, the state statute, MCL 125-3843, and this is the process for approving the master plan. And I'm going to ask council if I'm reading this right, but subsection 2 is mandatory. And when the state legislature writes legislation, you got shall and you got may. May is permissive, shall is mandatory. Under the Zoning Enabling Act, the Planning Commission shall approve the master plan. That's mandatory. That means we have to approve it, okay? That's our job. It's been by statute. I'm sorry if people want to vote on it, but the statute says we're the deciding body. Is that correct?
That is correct under the Planning and Enabling Act, yes.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any comments or questions before we proceed? Mr. Mayor.
Just to be clear on the statement that you made, so everybody understands, when we look at neighborhood residential, I look at my neighborhood. I went just for a walk yesterday with my dog, and we have single-family homes in my neighborhood, and we also have a number of smaller duplexes, apartment communities on Lincoln and throughout the neighborhood. I would say that is an accurate descriptor of my neighborhood. That definition does not say tear down all the single-family homes and build multifamily homes. It's just describing the neighborhood. The fact that over the years, from 1921 when we first became a city until now, there's been, as we transition from farmland to neighborhoods to you name it, the neighborhood, if you describe it, looks like that, and they put it on a heat map. And the neighborhood edge is a little different. It has a mix of businesses in there, and I think people have to understand that this is describing where we're at today.
Okay, and before we begin, last thing, I'm going to ask this. I'm sure not everybody can do this, but we all have iPhones or cell phones or whatever, Androids, and we could look it up. If you have a specific, we just not to make more work for us and the consultant and everything, if you have a specific issue you want to address, if you can cite the section number in the master plan, that would be great, because I know you don't have to do it, but you may have a general feeling about that's fine. But if you have a specific issue, please do us a favor and cite the section number so we don't have to go searching for it when we're talking to staff or the consultant. Thank you. All right. Are we ready to go? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin the public hearing. You have your hand up, so you can be first. But what we want to do is you're going to come up, introduce yourself for the record. I'd like people who are anticipating being the next speaker to line up. I'd like to see 10 people lined up there, and we'll keep going. 3 minutes. Please stop at 3 minutes if you get the buzzer, because there's so many people who want to talk. We got to be fair about it. And if we want to begin, you had your hand up, so you can go first, and you're second. So please line up as you wish.
It started already.
Let's start her again. Go.
Good evening. Did you say you wanted us to give our name?
You can, yes.
Okay.
I would prefer.
My name is PG, and I'm a resident of Oakland County. I want all of you to remember that every last one of these people in here are called residents, citizens, and they are at the top of the organizational chart. All of you work for these people in here. Mr. Mayor, you said that you want Royal Oak to be a place for people to age, yet a developer built a high-rise apartment building, no elevator, no parking. The parking is about a block and a half away. How can an aging senior live in such a city that allows a developer to have more than 2 floors and not have an elevator? Now, I just want you to consider that. Preserve and enhance neighborhood character. Robert Gibbs, one of the most notable planners in the world, said that the city is under no obligation to approve a project if it doesn't meet the character of the neighborhood. Sheets on 14 and Coolidge does not meet the character of that neighborhood. And there's nothing in that project that says preserve the neighborhood. Now, I'd like to ask all of you up there a question. Is that considered neighborhood edge? Is that considered preserve and enhance neighborhood character? Because I would say not. What you're going to have to do is answer to these people in here. If they're telling you that they don't want it and they're telling you about the concerns, the density, your master plan requires the narrowing of 14-mile road. That particular project requires an inbound and outbound island. It's right by a viaduct. It's down the street from an elementary school. What say ye? Is it safe? Your own traffic engineer said that that was not a good business to be in that particular location. Royal Oak is already overdeveloped. You put that development there, it's going to be a travesty and not good for the people. Where's the community benefit and the community agreement? Because you're going to vote for it, and you're going to be sorry. What say ye, people?
Before we move on to the next, just to clarify for those of you who haven't been here before, this is a presentation where citizens come up, they speak, they address, they give a presentation. You should not expect us to get in a dialogue with you. So if you're going to, you want to ask us a question, you can ask it rhetorically, but you shouldn't expect that we're going to have time to answer it. You're going to give you 3 minutes and we're going to move on to the next person, just so you know. Thanks. Come on up. Please introduce yourself for the record, 3 minutes.
My name is Greg Pendergrass. I live on Vermont in Royal Oak, and I'm reading a letter from Aaron Redman. Dear members of the City Commission, I have served on the Planning Commission in Clawson for many years. However, I do not speak on behalf of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission was never presented with your master plan to review. I am writing in strong opposition to parts of the proposed master plan and zoning ordinance that are currently under consideration. I was shocked to learn that the city is moving forward with a plan that eliminates important planning approval processes, disregards community input, and most troubling of all, lacks the need for transparency through the approval process. Residents are more than just taxpayers. They are invested in the neighborhoods that make Royal Oak special. It is deeply disheartening to witness the ongoing neglect of vital infrastructure, flooding issues, and deteriorating roads, while the city continues to approve over-density development that only exacerbates these problems. These problems will continue to be exacerbated as you continue to overdevelop. Homeownership is the cornerstone of financial stability and personal wealth. Owning a home offers security, helps families build equity, and provides a sense of pride and stability. Unlike renting, owning a home turns monthly payments into an investment rather than an expense. Over time, real estate appreciates in value, allowing homeowners to increase their net worth and pass wealth down to future generations. The benefits of home ownership extend beyond the individual. It fosters a stronger sense of community and responsibility, both of which enhance the overall quality of life. Yet the city's current master plan jeopardizes this opportunity for families, particularly millennials who are starting families and looking to own a freestanding home with a yard. The high-density developments that the City Commission seeks to push into single-family neighborhoods will not meet the needs of those families. Despite overwhelming public opposition in 2023 and 2024 through surveys, public meetings, and written communications, the consultant's proposed plan aligns with the Commission's agenda of introducing duplexes, apartments, and backyard housing into our neighborhoods. While some multifamily housing has already been approved, the revised master plan could expand this density across all neighborhoods, undermining the character and charm of New York, of Royal Oak. Eliminating single-family zoning would fundamentally alter the community's fabric. The charm of small-town living where neighbors know each other and raise their families in safe, quiet neighborhoods will be lost. As the traffic increases, infrastructure strains, and the city becomes overburdened with higher density, residents will feel betrayed by the very community they call home.
All right, thank you. Okay, okay, before you begin, just another, sort of another rule. I understand people want to respond, but this is not a football game. It's more like a court hearing, and I'd ask you to refrain from making audio expressions. Thank you. If you're not speaking, go ahead. Please introduce
My
yourself.
name's Rose Calmetta, and I live on Coolidge Highway. And I'm reading the other half of Aaron Redmond's letter. And it is clear from attending many meetings and speaking with neighbors that the City Commission has largely ignored the feedback from residents. Many choose to live in a smaller communities like Royal Oak because they value the sense of security, stability, and family-friendly environment that single-family zoning fosters. These neighborhoods contribute to the strength and resilience of local businesses, schools, and organizations. Single-family homes with their long-term residents provide reliability and dependability that make neighborhoods desirable and thriving. Single-family zoning plays an essential role in maintaining the integrity and quality of our neighborhoods. It ensures neighborhood stability, fosters community bonds, maintains property values, and it also helps preserve the quality of life by reducing noise, traffic, congestion, and other disruptions that come with high-density developments. Additionally, it offers residents more privacy and space, encouraging long-term investments in the community. By maintaining single-family zoning, you can further create and preserve peaceful, high-quality living environments that benefit all residents and support community growth of the community, continued growth of the community, and save high-density developments for major thoroughfare roads. I am not against development or density. There should be a place for high-density, mixed-use buildings. Allowing a flow and organizations to be maintained in a city is important for overall integrity. Single-family homes should be preserved and respected the same admiration you assign to any use. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend the upcoming meeting, and I hope a volunteer reads this letter. However, I want to express my strong support for those residents who continue to speak out against this plan. If the commission is not willing to listen to the dozens who have attended past meetings, I'm not confident my feedback will change the outcome. But I wanted to add my voice in solidarity with those who feel underrepresented and unheard. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Aaron Redmond.
All right, thank you. All right, come on up. Introduce yourself. 3 minutes, please.
Thank you. My name is Scott Hammond. I'm a 40-year resident, and I live on Cambridge, which is in the Sherman Triangle area, 11 and Woodward. A city does need updating. We know that, and I don't think people that are speaking out against the plan are against progress or new developments. And they're not against everything in the plan. Some of the features of the plan are creative and good. But the plan is very comprehensive, and there is still a lot of confusion over the term single-family zoning. It was another attempt to clarify that tonight, which we appreciate, or I do. It's the density of population and how these things can change the city. And that once a plan like this, as big as it is approved, there may not be any way to turn it back or amend it. It may be very difficult to do that. There's also a concern over some of the bordering cities and communities. There's 11 of them that are involved, and if they have been contacted about the plan, or even are aware of it and have had a chance to respond to it, how they may affect them, their city, their values, their population, their economics, and so forth. So it seems to me the big issue is whether the public, specifically different sections of Royal Oak, because one of the great things about Royal Oak, it's a great city, is it's split up into different areas. There's a lot of diversity there, and how these different areas, the folks who live there haven't had a chance to hear how the plan will affect them. Now, we've heard that the commission votes on it or decides on it, and people are not supposed to vote on it, that's not practical, that's not the letter of the law, but where I live near 11 Mile and Woodward, and if 11 Mile is redesigned and Woodward is redesigned at that corner, that's certainly going to impact that area, which is, quote, an area of preservation. Well, it won't be preserved if those two main thoroughfares are affected and redesigned the way we've seen that they could be in the master plan. So if there's no vote on it, it seems to me that these different sections of residents, there might be a way to communicate to them what's going to happen in their areas so they're aware of it. As for sheets, in the last 20 seconds I have, it's a silly idea. I'm not against truckers or people who drive trucks. We need them. That place belongs better suited off a freeway. It's a bad corner. We don't want, bless these truckers, we don't want them rolling up and down Coolidge or 14 Mile. And I'm wondering if the principal of Upton School and the parents, the PTA, have been contacted about that and how it will affect their school.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please come on up, introduce yourself, 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Tom Halleck, former city commissioner and planning commissioner. I chaired the commission here for 9 years. Having participated in the 99 to 2001 master plan process, I have to say that this was an incredibly limited affair. They had many public hearings. You basically did it online and called it quits. The results were predetermined. The firm that was hired to do this master plan specializes in getting rid of single-family neighborhoods, and there's no denial to that. I've been experienced with this. I've been doing this for a long time. I know that firm. That's what they do. That's what they just did to another city right before they came here. By the way, with your master plan, you're supposed to look into trying to straighten out the Coolidge and 14 Mile. Well, you might as well scratch that one up before you even approve it, because you're going to put a Sheetz car wash right where you got to do that. So those two don't work together. Basically, the statement that we're not changing your neighborhoods is nonsense. That was solved 26 years ago with the overlay zones. This is single family, you're not, you're legal, you've got paperwork. There is absolutely no reason to change that language unless you want to change our neighborhoods. Because when you eliminate the single family name, you now can put anything you want in our neighborhoods because it's not single family anymore. And I've been up to the state and I've talked with the state and they agree with that if you eliminate that phrase, anything goes. And if it doesn't think it matters, then let's look at section 1, summary of actions 1.3.1. Adopt the future land use map with a focus on preserving the scale and characteristic of existing neighborhoods, and here comes the good part, while identifying appropriate areas for missing middle and medium to high density housing. This isn't quarters, it's not neighborhood hubs, that's in your neighborhood section. The hubs is in the next paragraph, so they are talking about doing that to your neighborhood. When you talk about ADUs, you're now imagine every garage in your neighborhood is now a house. And you've got people living at your back, at the back fence line, and they've all got cars. Where are they parking those cars? Who knows? Who knows where you're gonna park any of those cars? And you know what happens to those ADUs? They get bought up by rental agencies, Airbnbs, and they turn into a double rental party house. And that's been the experience in many cities all over the place. And the closer you are to downtown, the more likely it is to happen. Page 51, 4.1.1, ensure neighborhood zoning encourages building size and characteristics that are compatible with existing and historic buildings. You don't have to do that with a house. What are you talking about?
All right, thank you. Okay, folks, try to influence with your arguments, not your clapping hands, please. Go ahead, 3 minutes.
Hi, Jean Sarnacki,
former city commissioner, and I was also in the subcommittee for the Plan Commission for the master plan. And thank you, Tom, for your attention to detail. I know it's important to all of you to understand where some of this comes from. I have a very specific item. There is no park south of 11 Mile and west of downtown. That's an oversight that occurred many years ago, continues to exist. There is a dilapidated wooden structure on the side of the parking structure that is boarded up and yellow tape for no one to touch. I mean, literally, there's plywood on it. So we need a park. So that's just a very specific thing. Put it on your wish list when there's money to put in a park. We need a park in that part of town. In my neighborhood, we have 65% multiple units for living. Whether they're rental or owned, I don't know, but 65% of the housing units in my neighborhood are multiple. 35, single family. I knew that when I moved in, not a problem. But I do know that it's the people who own those homes that make sure the manhole covers are uncovered, who handle the sidewalks when they need snow plowed, handle the detail of planning neighborhood parties and block parties. It's the owners of these homes that make it a reasonable and a wonderful place for rentals to occur. That requires a balance. And I ask you to consider language that talks about balance of multiple in single family if you're moving forward with your current language, which I'm assuming you are. I'm assuming it's a bit of a fait accompli. I'm not a flamethrower. There's enough flame throwing going on in here, and you know it. You know it. That's not helpful at this point. It's going to happen. But there has been flame throwing up here. I've seen it. I felt it. We can all do better, and I expect you to do better. And also, finally, get the ZBA some education. My God. Please, they need education to do the work they're doing. And I've heard that from some of you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Come on up. Introduce yourself, please, in 3 minutes.
Right. Hello, I am Wyatt Castle. I'm a recent homeowner here in Royal Oak. I moved in about 2 years ago, and I'm here speaking in support of the master plan and its increased priority for transit, mobility, and access to public services. I'm especially in support of the increased housing options. It's no secret that Royal Oak has a lot of barriers to access for housing, and I believe that the best way to increase access is with new forms of housing, more housing options. And importantly, a city is not built to secure the economic investments of those who have already been here and live here currently. It's to improve their quality of life. It is to invite more residents, invite them with the quality of life that they offer here. As 2008 has shown, housing is not exactly a secure investment that we can all depend on for the long-term future. It's something that is there to service people, service their lives. If the single-family home proponents are to have their way, then people like me would not be able to live here. I come from a middle-class family, single mother who had gone through many different challenges, including housing difficulties. This is not about big businesses or schemes, about people living their lives and people live here, thrive here, access businesses, for example, access city services, go downtown and have a good time, travel throughout the city. And most importantly, this is a 20-year plan. In 20 years, the people in this room will look different, whether they like it or not. There'll be people living here, who move here, people who move away, people who inherit homes, sell those homes to new people who have different opinions. So those who are going to live here in the future are those who we also have to think of. And most importantly, there are many who have not spoken here before, who have jobs, who have other priorities, families. And I think they would have similar opinions as me if not for those obligations. I thank you for your time, and I support all those who have given their opinions and who also have their diversity of opinion.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, come on up. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Sure. Yeah, Joseph Stevenson, 322 East Kenilworth Avenue, Royal Oak. Yeah, I just wanted to say I've lived here since 2009. I lived with my grandparents, and you know, they wanted age in place. They love the city. They've lived here since like the 80s. They unfortunately had to relocate because their house was a two-story. And of course, as you age, you can't really have the mobility of going up and down the stairs. We would have loved to have them relocate to somewhere in Royal Oak, but unfortunately, the price of housing is not conducive for that sort of thing. So I want to say the fourth focus of this sort of plan we really should be doing is affordability, right? I mean, missing middle housing, as people are still trying to figure out what that means, is quite important, right? The thing is that if we change the definition of single family to, say, neighborhood, right? It allows development of ADUs, it allows development of, duplexes and triplexes and things like that. Ideally, there's limitations on the height of these properties, right? 3 stories is what I hear. 4 stories is maybe the maximum. We already have houses being bought up, starter houses, that were $100,000 like 2 years ago, right? Maybe $200,000 today, just because of inflation. But these were like 3-bedroom, like 2-bathroom, that were being bought up by developers, property managers, people who want to start renting, right? And they tear down literally all 3 walls and they build up an extra 2 stories on top of it and then say, hey, this is now your McMansion that you could buy for $1 million.
Exactly.
Now, where is the outrage for that? There's no difference in the amount of stories. There's no difference in the footprint. In fact, it actually might be a little bit better if it was a conversion from like a single family to an ADU or multifamily. You've got people who are literally taking up 70% of the property land and developing this crazy just McMansion that only a single person can live out of. Anyways, that does not help affordability. That does not help aging in place. Yeah, I guess I'll just leave it at that. But I'm a big fan of the 20-year plan with regards to its transit considerations, its lanes reductions, its traffic calming. The one complaint that I've heard many times is Woodward Avenue being a loud, ruckus, motor sport arena, right? I drive a loud muscle car myself. I understand the pain. But, there's great plans in reducing lanes and reducing the amount of land available to cars to increase trees and natural noise preventatives for Woodward. And I think it's a great idea.
Okay,
Anyways,
thank you very much.
Big plan. Yeah, bam.
Come on up, 3 minutes. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Alex Morford. I live at 503 West Sunnybrook, and I've been a resident and homeowner of Royal Oak for 6 years now. I'm also a member of E&B Oakland County. We've been working on this master plan for quite some time. It's been over 2 years since I first went to a meeting to provide comment. If I alone wrote the master plan, it would look a bit different. I would have written it to allow small multifamily development by right everywhere in the city. But instead, the commission and the consultants have listened to everyone and come up with this current proposed master plan that is a compromise of residents' opinions. I appreciate all the effort to come up with this middle ground plan, and I'm here tonight to express my support for the proposed master plan. Moving forward with this proposed master plan is the next step for a future Royal Oak with more housing and better infrastructure for everyone, not just drivers. Specifically, I appreciate the plan's focus on making small multifamily developments a by right option in more areas of the city and reducing parking requirements. Actions like these are important to make homes less expensive to build. Also, as someone who walks, bikes, and rides the bus in Royal Oak, I appreciate the plan's focus on making our streets safer. The safer people feel getting around without their car, the more often they will, which can reduce traffic, reduce emissions, and improve health outcomes. I believe this proposed master plan will have a lasting positive impact on our community, and I look forward to its approval and then successful implementation. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. All right, please introduce yourself. 3 minutes.
Rick Karlowski, Virginia. Tom Hellick took a lot of my thunder, but as I said before, all through the master plan, you keep telling me we're preserving the single family, we're not going to change anything, blah, blah, blah. Then why are you changing the name? Okay? You don't need to change the name. If you're not going to change anything, then leave it alone. The reason you're changing it is because now it's easier to sneak in ADUs and duplexes and small multifamily into neighborhoods because they're all residential, okay? How do I know this? Because that's what they're doing in Ferndale. And the same guy who made your master plan made theirs. Go back and look at it. That's exactly what they just did. As far as the plan itself, though, second thing, it's in the master plan. I've also heard this. I want to see the first study, the first one that says seniors want to go ahead and live in a small little one-bedroom apartment above their kid's garage. Okay? I'm tired of seniors being blamed for we need ADUs to age in place. No, we need senior housing to age in place. Or we need help if you're already in a bungalow with maybe your lawn or your snow removal or stuff like that. A lot of people don't want to move. They just can't keep up with what they have. Also on 12 Mile there between Campbell and Rochester, it's currently got yellow, which means multifamily. Have anybody driven down that street? You've got 5 new single-family construction. There is one apartment building on it, but you're going to rezone it to multifamily? Really? I mean, how about you guys take a look at what's actually there? I fully agree that some of our master plan needs to change because things have evolved. But that is nuts. Absolutely nuts. So, and I guess the other big thing with this master plan is 102 pages long, not a single footnote. Somebody show me where the data is. Somebody show me where we've introduced this in another town and it's worked out great. This is just somebody's opinion. I got one, okay? So when you're going to again, big thing here is somebody tell me why we have to change single family to residential. I just want to hear it because you guys keep saying we're going to keep the neighborhoods the way they are. And if you do, then leave the language alone. Thank you.
Come on up, 3 minutes, please.
Hi there, I'm Trevor. My name is Trevor Sabrin. I live right across the street on 3rd Street. I'm 25 years old, and I've been a Royal Oak resident for about 2 years now. I'm not a longtime resident of Royal Oak, and I'm not a homeowner, but one day I do hope to be both of those things. I'm here today because I feel that young people tend to be underrepresented at these sort of meetings, and yet the young professional demographic is important for the growth of the city. While I don't agree with everything in the master plan, I do want to share that I think it does a good job of addressing and expanding upon the things that drew me to Royal Oak in the first place, the things that I love about Royal Oak. What I look for in a city are the same things that the data shows that many young people like myself are looking for. We want to afford to live near where we work. We want tight-knit, accessible communities, and that means accessibility without a car. And finally, we want to be near a vibrant economic area with restaurants, stores, nightlife, theaters, parks, etc. First, I want to talk about the housing issue. I think there's a lot of misinformation going around about the housing issue in the master plan. No, single-family zoning is not going away anytime soon. It is a by right, in statute, right to build a single-family home. But multifamily zoning is the issue here because it's incredibly difficult, and there are many hurdles in order to get a multifamily property built. We need more diverse housing options to accommodate for the growth that this city has and will benefit from. I and many of my friends, almost all of my friends, live in what was originally designed to be a single-family home, but in reality, we're living with 4 to 5 roommates in this one home. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a vagrant. I'm not poor. I'm a working professional who has a master's degree and wants to live and work here, and I just can't afford a home because I'm 25 years old. This growth is going to happen whether we like it or not. It seems that a lot of people are hoping there's a way to continue to benefit from the strong growth Royal Oak has benefited from without accommodating those who are causing it, but there's not. Diverse housing is needed, and that means townhomes, condos, duplexes, and yes, apartment buildings. And 3 stories really is not that tall. I also wanted to talk about accessibility. As somebody who frequently bikes to work, I have been honked at, yelled at, driven at for biking in what is ostensibly a shared use lane. A painted bicycle in the middle of the street is not considered bike infrastructure. So I hope that as you guys proceed with the master plan and the plan for the next 25 years, that you please consider to continue to make Royal Oak accessible, walkable, bikeable, and with decent public transportation options. I want to thank all the commission, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next, come on up, introduce yourself, and 3 minutes.
Hi there, my name is Ben. I lived in Royal Oak for just about my entire life. A couple years ago, I had to move to Ferndale. I was renting a place in Royal Oak right on Girard and Main Street, or Rochester, wherever it breaks off. Well, I just wanted to voice a general voice of support for the master plan. I like a lot of it. I know that there's a lot of contention here, but I appreciate in particular the plan to increase the business district, or develop the Normandy Street a little bit further. I think that could be very beneficial. I appreciate the plans to try to increase mobility for things that are not car-centric. I too am also a big biker. Please don't hit me on the way out. But yeah, it's just, I think that there's a lot of things going in the right direction. I think this plan is pretty consistent with things that we're seeing in other regions of the world, trying to claw back a little bit of that car-centric infrastructure. Now, every time that this comes up, it seems like there's the thought that we are going to totally get rid of cars, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to say that that's not the case. There's just other options here, and I think that we would all benefit by having more options to get around. In terms of increased density, there is a concern that this will put more strain on infrastructure, and I understand that. So long as we build it well, I would hope that it's going to be fine. I don't think it's impossible, but I should think that every plan is going to really hammer home this so that any sort of increased density is actually going to, not flood the streets or anything like that. But just generally, vote of support.
All right, thank you. Come on up. And next, please introduce yourself, 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Dale Jordan. I live on Maxwell Avenue, and I wanted to voice my support for the plan. When you look around Metro Detroit, a lot of the communities are very similar. It's just a lot of single-family homes, no character, no downtown, anything like that. But there's a little sliver along the Woodward corridor that is special, and Royal Oak is a part of that. There's a lot of things that are different from Novi and Plymouth and Northville and that sort of thing to Royal Oak, but one of the things that stands out to me is the different places within the community, between the vibrant downtown or the middle density apartments that are just outside of that onto the communities as you get farther away from the red in the map. I think that difference is key to what makes Royal Oak so great, and I strongly encourage the Planning Commission to preserve it as they have within the plan today. I live next to a duplex. Just down the street from me is a co-op full of 65 and older citizens. Across from that are a couple small businesses. It is not a single family only place, but I think that combination of appropriately sized homes and businesses brings a character that makes this city so wonderful. Additionally, I also want to voice support for the different transportation options contained within the plan. As the previous speaker said, I strongly support multimodal transport options, including bus and bike. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. All right. Come on up, introduce yourself, 3 minutes.
Name's Bob Stuglin. I live at 4404 Rochester Road. I'd just like to read the last couple of sentences from the introduction to the master plan. It says it aims to elevate the quality of smaller existing neighborhood commercial areas, provide housing that aligns with current demand in a thoughtful and predictable way, and achieves these goals while preserving the unique character of existing neighborhoods. If anyone's got a master plan with them, if they could turn to page 36, which is the area of just south of 13 Mile at Rochester Road, the first 3 blocks, okay? There's a pulmonary clinic, a rehab clinic, a fire station, an auto repair shop, a party store, an appliance sales shop, a dentist office, a Dairy Queen, a computer repair shop, a yoga studio, a church, and a construction office. In the master plan, they're all gone. They're all replaced with 3- and 4-story buildings. What about the character of the neighborhood? What about where it says existing neighborhood commercial areas? Every one of them gone. I brought this up at the city council meeting, and they almost had a hissy fit up there because, oh, the Dairy Queen will still be there. It's not here. Where did it go? I started to say it's all in black and white, but this is in color. Look at page 36. Why don't you put it on the screen for me so they can all see it? We can't vote on the master plan any more than we can vote on their pay raises. He got a $1,600% pay raise, voted by a commission that he appointed. They, the city council, got a 1,200% pay raise 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
We didn't vote on that either. One more thing. I live in northeast Royal Oak, which is east of Main Street, north of 12 Mile. There's not a single city commission person that lives there, and you can tell. Go to Genesee and Rochester Road, right on the corner. There's a bank building there that they tore down. It was zoned for 16 units. They're building a 42-unit apartment building. We collected 300 petitions in our neighborhood to stop it. They didn't care. They ignored our petitions. Ignored them. Then they started to demonize them when they thought we were getting some traction. In that apartment building, 4 stories, there's no elevators. There's no indoor stairways. You're talking about senior citizens? Senior citizens? Those are 600-foot units that probably would be good for senior citizens if there was elevators. I'm 75 years old. I couldn't live there. I've lived in this city over 60 years. There's my signal.
All right, thank you. All right, come on up, introduce yourself, 3 minutes, and let's maintain decorum, folks. Go ahead.
Hello. My name is Joe Martinez, and I live on Greenleaf Drive in the Vincetta Park neighborhood with my wife. My wife and I moved to Royal Oak in 2022. And it was when the housing market was kind of crazy, so we paid a lot more for our house than we expected to. But we were happy to because we really wanted to live in Royal Oak. And part of what drew us to living in Royal Oak was not only our house, which had the right kind of vibes, for lack of a better word, but our neighborhood, which was very peaceful, and the sense of community that we felt with our neighbors immediately upon moving in. So with that, why I'm here tonight is because I care about preserving the beauty, character, and overall identity of our city. And I'm concerned that these proposed zoning changes could lead to a gradual erosion of what makes Royal Oak such a special place to live. Quiet streets, stable neighborhoods, and a strong sense of community. I also worry about the long-term impact on property values and public safety. Growth is important, but it has to be thoughtful and in balance with the people already living here. And a question that I would pose is, has the commission conducted or considered any studies on how these changes could affect property values or crime rates in nearby neighborhoods? And I don't know the answer to that. But I thank you for your time, and I think it is important to listen to the will of the people here. And obviously there are many voices and many opinions, but I hope that you will consider that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, come on up, 3 minutes. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is David Bazinski. I reside on Coolidge Highway in a little 3-bedroom house that I bought 20 years ago for about $125 grand. The reason I moved to Royal Oak is because I could afford that house at the time. I was in my 20s. I've raised 2 kids in that house, and they've both gone to Royal Oak schools, one out of the University of Michigan. The proposed changes to the master plan make me think that Royal Oak is going to become a tale of 2 cities. We're going to have high-density housing on the one end, and then we are going to have low-density housing where all the houses are $1 million. So many of the homes nearby me that were once 800, 1,000, 1,100 square foot homes have been bulldozed, and with a 3,000 square foot, very large home put in its place, selling for $700,000, $800,000, $1.1 million. And part of the master plan, it suggests that the reason we need to increase the density of the housing is that because young people and the changing demographics, they don't want to own a home, they want to rent. No, they rent because they can't afford a home. They would love to be able to afford a small single-family home in Royal Oak, or even a condo in Royal Oak. Increasing the density of the city and the developments, I don't think is going to lead to positive changes. The population of this city is off 30,000 people from its peak in the 70s, when there was much less development here. I want to say we peaked around 85,000. It's less than 60 now. And part of that has to do with the fact that household sizes are smaller. That's fine. Times change. And in the 20 years that I've been in my home, what's changed is it went from the houses on both sides of me were occupied by their owners, including the original owner from 1949, God rest her soul. She's since passed, and now one house is a rental property, one nice, the other is an Airbnb, which is a hotel next to my home. If we really want to talk about increasing the housing stock in the city of Royal Oak, why don't we ban rentals with leases less than 30 days? Or do something to stop the destruction of the affordable single-family homes that we have. They did this to Birmingham 40 years ago. Birmingham used to also have lots of little houses in it. Now you can't find anything in there for less than $750,000. And my concern is that's the direction that Royal Oak is going to go into. We're going to have some high-density housing with affordable rents at $1,600 or $2,000 a month, which to my mind isn't very affordable. And then we're going to have the other housing stock, which is for people who have $1 million to spend on a home. The middle class, it seems like there really isn't a spot for them anymore in that plan. And these are just some of the things I'd like the commission to consider when deciding whether or not to vote this thing into effect. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Come on up. Please introduce yourself for the record, and 3 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor Fournier. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not as loud as that last guy, and sorry. My name is Nate Hara. I actually live in Clawson, and I happen to be a planning commissioner there as well. Forgive the intrusion, but as Ms. Redmond, fellow commissioner, indicated, the Planning Commission has not reviewed this master plan update. That's not your fault. That happened on our end, I think. But I just wanted to voice my personal views. Perhaps it will benefit you. We have 77 approximately residents that live along what you would refer to as the Normandy corridor there that are not expecting this change in the future. I've lived in my house for 15 years now. It was a starter home, and I've kind of just continued to fall in love with it. In a few months, I'll pay it off, and I'm very happy about that. It's a huge part of my financial security, actually. When I joined the Planning Commission, there was a lot I didn't know, and I think that the nuance of this issue, for me personally, is only really relevant after you've served on the Planning Commission. But if you eliminate the single-family zoning across your territories, you take yourself out of the driver's seat of any developer of the development process. And I hope you realize how long-term and long-ranging that effects are. Those effects are. It's increasingly difficult to draw a line between democracy and dollar signs, but people are really struggling with affordability right now. Right now, my house is far more affordable than a two-bedroom apartment, and I don't see that direction changing. If you give developers a blank check to buy properties throughout a neighborhood, you instantly increase the inflation effect for people who would be considering that a starter home. You'll never again be part of the process of a site plan review or give ZBA a chance to review it or even to participate in a PUD where you could custom tailor whether or not that was a good project for you or not. Those are always options for you under the current system, but if you abolish the single-family zoning, it's gone. I apologize for this intrusion. It's none of my business what you do in Clawson, but it does matter very much to the 77 residents that live on the border of it. I just wanted to speak up for them because I don't know that there'll be a second chance for them. I've been 15 years living there. I never thought there was a possibility that an apartment could happen next to my house. It never was a thought of. The stability of my neighborhood was a given. And I think for 50, 60, 70 years of Royal Oak, it was also a given. If there was such an idea, it would have to go before the Planning Commission. There would have to be variance notices going out. There would be some heads up. The last 9 seconds, I just want to say to the younger people in the room, like hang out, like hold on to the hope of having a home. It could be a big deal for you someday. I know it seems remote right now, but it'll be a great thing for you someday. I hope you have that chance. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, folks, thank you very much, Planning Commissioner there, but seriously, let's keep decorum. This is not a football game. I would say that again. Go ahead.
I'm Nicole Bazinski. I live on Coolidge in Normandy. I'm here because I wanted to talk about the Sheetz truck stop that you're trying to build on Coolidge and 14. My son went to Upton Elementary, and I actually went on maps and I found out that Upton Elementary is 0.4 miles away from this proposed location. We know that Sheetz, when they move to a new area, they bring all kinds of problems and crimes to the area. Do we really want that close to an elementary school? Because kids ride their bikes there, they walk to school still. I don't think this is the right place for it. Also, I just wanted to ask that we put the master plan on the ballot so people can vote on it, because this is an important issue. That's it. Thanks. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Please come on up, introduce yourself, 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Sean. I'm a resident homeowner, Royal Oak and Maplewood area. I just want to express my strong support for this proposed master plan. This demonstrates what I believe is a very few small steps forward, but in addressing the future housing needs of our community while preserving what our current character, especially our single-family neighborhoods. I recognize that it does very little to change that, which I'm personally not a fan of, but I recognize that, hey, you got to make a compromise. I'm particularly pleased with this plan's focus on acknowledging that we need to have at least more types of housing so that everybody can have a chance to afford a home, which is important. I also appreciate the fact that this plan recognizes climate change. Something the previous master plan did not do. That's something that's very important, as well as the emphasis on transit infrastructure, improving transit in the city. Somebody who bikes and takes the bus, right? That's important to me, and that's also important, for our climate goals as well. You've heard, I've always spoken in front of this commission a few times in support of this plan. You know how I feel. I just want to go over a little bit, just some specifics in the process. So this is year 2 of this. I have been to numerous meetings. There's been numerous notices about this proposed master plan that's gone out. And even then, if and when this does get, passed, proposed, we have to do this again for another 2 years to actually implement the plan. It's going to be like 5 years before any of this comes to fruition. So I think this is already an extremely lengthy process, and I appreciate all the opportunities for engagement. One of the things I'm also looking forward to, hopefully with the implementation of this, just to give an example, there was 31 units of affordable housing proposed just downtown a few months ago. It almost got killed at the ZBA because of parking, even though it had enough parking for every apartment building, because it didn't meet the specific requirements of the city. It almost got killed at the ZBA, and there was 31 units of affordable housing to be affordable for 20 years. And it almost got shot down because of parking. And then lastly, I live in a house that was built in 1947. When it was built, it was under 1,000 square feet. Now it's had a small addition to it, so it puts it over that 1,000 square foot limit. But that under 1,000 square feet, you cannot build that in today's current single-family neighborhoods. I support starter houses. That's how I was able to get a house. We can't build my house anymore because of the restrictive zoning. So I support single-family neighborhoods. When the implementation, let's build more. Let's take a look at the lot sizes. Let's take a look at minimum zone house footprint. Let's just see. My single-family neighborhood has more than enough room for more single-family homes. So again, I support this plan. And how it's proposed, and I look forward to its implementation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Come on up and introduce yourself, please, for the record, 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Lisa Mason, and I live on Ferncliff Avenue. I've lived in Royal Oak for over 40 years. We started out renting a lower flat on 11 Mile Road, and we've owned 2 other homes, and I'm really happy to be in this city. I've participated in the master plan process by attending charrettes. I've seen lots of opportunities to give input. I appreciate the thorough and thoughtful approach. And I definitely support single-family homes. I live in a single-family home, and my last home was a single-family home. And I feel that the master plan does protect my neighborhood. I'm confident that the way that you're planning to approach this, my neighborhood and the neighborhoods in Royal Oak will be safe. And I'm glad that we're working to make homes affordable in Royal Oak for people that work here, that grew up here, and that own businesses here. I've talked to people from all three of those categories who can't afford to live in this city, and I'm really pleased that we're working towards a situation where that wouldn't be the case any longer. Thank you for all your hard work.
Okay, thank you. All right, come on up, introduce yourself, 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Shane Malley. I've moved in 2019. I live at 14 between Woodward and Coolidge. In general, I would say that this plan has the problem that you have to anticipate what will happen in the future and set up the plan for that future, because the city has a long history, even though it's only 100 years. And every decision that the city commission and all the groups that are there make it with 20, 30, 50 years in mind. And I think that this is something similar. I think when it comes to housing, I grew up in Chesterfield, and a lot of people, a lot of young people wanted to move out because there wasn't as much opportunity there. And I moved here in Royal Oak because there was opportunity, and that's why things are priced the way they are. And while I don't think this master plan, which I'm in favor for, will necessarily solve it, because it's not just Royal Oak who has to make this decision. It's many communities all around Royal Oak and in the metro area that have to make this decision. Is that I think this is a step in the right direction. And the problem, of course, is it can't just be this community that makes that step. And I think additionally, you know, those who have issues with this, it's largely because that change is scary. But I think change is coming whether this plan goes through or not. And it's a question of what kind of change do you want? Do you want to take a step to alleviate the case of why housing is expensive as it is, because it's largely because there's a huge demand and there's a restricted supply? Or do we want to take a step in the direction of trying to alleviate that? Because you're going to get the change either way, and it's a question of what kind of change do you want? And that's effectively it.
All right, thank you. All right, come on up. Introduce yourself for the record, 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Haywood. I've lived in Royal Oak for 70 years. I grew up on Highfield. I bought my first house on Baldwin for $19,000. I now live on Shenandoah by the awful Woodward corridor, which is so loud and noisy. I wish you'd put a little effort into that. But it's not the small town, and you're not looking out for the seniors, because none of my senior friends want to come downtown to Royal Oak. There's nothing down here for us. And I only come here to pay my taxes and go to the market. I appreciate the police when they answer my phone calls, when they're racing up and down Woodward at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. It's not the friendly small neighborhood it used to be. And people can afford to move in. I mean, I know my granddaughter had to buy in Clawson, and a very dilapidated house at a high price. But I think you need to listen to your residents, and I know money is sometimes the issue, and these big houses that are going up brings big taxes, and I think that maybe you should put a little more effort into keeping our schools safe from maybe not having something like Oxford happen, and keeping the teachers, the students, and the other employees safe. And I just wanted to voice my opinion because, like I said, I probably beat you all 70 years in Royal Oak. And I can still get up and down my stairs. So I hope you'll reconsider getting rid of whatever you're planning on doing. I don't know if it's all true or not, but I love Royal Oak. I just feel bad that it's become the city that it's become. It's not what it used to be.
Okay, thank you. Please introduce yourself, 3 minutes.
All right. Good evening. Bill Harrison, Woodward Side Subdivision in Royal Oak. And our subdivision is a changing neighborhood, which is good. It's changing in the sense that younger families and children are moving in, reaching new viability. So this BS of young people not being able to afford houses is just that. We have been told repeatedly that this is a master plan, not zoning. In fact, however, It is all about being the basis for zoning changes. The proposed master plan is promoting a form-based code to replace the current traditional zoning. FBCs prioritize building form over land use. They encourage housing diversity and potentially impact single-family homes by allowing for this missing middle housing like townhouses, duplexes, and other forms of multiple dwelling units in what are currently single-family neighborhoods. Missing middle and the nebulous term neighborhood residential that replaces single-family zoning have the potential to be the end of our single-family neighborhoods as we know them. Matt Lambert, DPZ, told me during one of the charrettes that I cannot have what I described as my country atmosphere neighborhood. How dare he? I am concerned that the Royal Oak Golf Course may be subject to redevelopment. The proposed master plan land use map shows the golf course as other open space rather than a park or golf course. The golf course management company was given a 2-year contract extension. The original offer from the city was only a 1-year extension in order to get past the next election. It's all about getting elected, isn't it? The golf course is an important attribute for Royal Oak that must be protected by the master plan. Thank you.
All right. Come on up, introduce yourself, and 3 minutes, please.
My name is Charles Kaminskis. I live at 201 Austin, Royal Oak. I moved in there in 1978. I was relatively newly married. I got married in 1973. Bought the house in 78. One of the biggest things and the most exciting thing at that time, I was 26 years old at the time, was able to buy that house. I won't tell you what I paid for it. I'm a retired auto worker. My income around that time was $14,000 a year. It was a relatively man's wage. That was all I could afford. But my biggest thing was to be able to buy that house. I bought that house and raised 3 kids in that house. And they all went to Dondera High School. The biggest thing was to have a house with a yard and raise kids and have a family. I'm 72 years old right now. I'm thinking maybe at some point, getting rid of that house, wanting to sell that house. I'm right on the corner of Main and Austin, where they're in the process right now, a 4-year process of building a 8-unit on the northwest corner. They're building an 8-unit. I think they're apartments. I'm not sure, condos or apartments. Anyway, they're building 8 units on that corner. And just last year, I was to a zoning meeting, and Bianchi's is going to build a 24-unit building on that corner. So they're pretty much inundated. I'm 2 houses from there. I'm the second house off of Main. My concern is, if you change it, we had to come down to a zoning meeting to zone for them to put multi-unit in there. My concern is if you change this to just residential, like this one gentleman that was here earlier, I'm concerned that you guys said that you were going to try to build these big, tall units on the outskirts of neighborhoods. My concern is if you change the wording in that kind of eliminates all the zoning. There's no need for that, it's just residential. What's to stop a developer from coming in and buying up 3 houses in a row right next to my house and building what he wants to? If they want to build that, I know you spoke, there's condos in your neighborhood and stuff. I got no problem with that. What I'm having a problem with is everywhere it seems in the last 2 years, they're building 20, 40, 35 unit. What's to stop them from coming in the neighborhood and say, well, it's just residential? That's my concern. So, like I said, for single family homes, was a big deal when I was a kid.
All right, thank you
know,
very
like
much.
I said, I've maintained that house in that neighborhood in a neighborhood fashion for 47 years.
All right, thank you very
And I
much.
just hate to see it go.
All right, please introduce yourself for the record, 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Joe Grabowski. I'm a resident of Royal Oak for over a decade within the Red Run neighborhood, and I'm exposed to the multifamily housing zoning plan as proposed. So what is the typical attraction of multifamily housing generally? It's walkability to attractions, being able to interact with businesses and other residents within a consolidated business district and downtown area. When multifamily is concentrated in or near a walkable downtown area, this provides an opportunity to reduce car traffic, allows for continued growth of the city center, and of course provides more parking opportunities and opportunities for people to visit our city and interact with the downtown area. The current proposal, however, of opening multifamily development to areas well outside the city center does none of these things and creates a massive quality of life issue for our neighborhood residents. Proposed multifamily units well outside the core downtown area create increased traffic, consume limited space in and around areas designed just after World War II primarily, containing small homes with narrow streets and minimal parking. The Commission's statement that housing will be more affordable is correct, but not for the altruistic reasons they're proposing. This will cause legacy homeowners near these developments to take a large haircut on their home prices due to congestion and noise. Logically, potential buyers of single-family homes near these developments will not want to live in or around these multifamily units. Offsetting this, I've seen no data to suggest that this will bring down home prices more generally across the city. Neighbors will not have an opportunity to interact with each other as we traditionally have in Royal Oak, as our neighbor will now be a self-contained multifamily unit lacking outdoor space to meet and spend time with neighbors. The traditional aspirational American value is homeownership. It is not renting an apartment. The only upside I see in this proposal is for developers and the committee members dependent on donations related to this. This proposal will make Royal Oak less desirable for young families and exacerbate existing strains on our already congested neighborhoods and should be voted against. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Please introduce yourself and 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Rob Cuney. My family lives in Red Run. We chose to live in Northeast Royal Oak for the small community and the proximity to the walkable downtown. We bought the home from Charles Carroll, who purchased the home in 1949 after he moved home from the war. He lived there for over 70 years and raised a family there. We were able to buy the home from him, and we hope to have the same thing for us. We all want growth and prosperity. Growth in the downtown district and adjacent areas will provide that. We'll all benefit from it. But it has to be done with care and consideration, not to change the beauty and character of the neighborhoods. It would be a disaster for the citizens of Royal Oak if this committee continues to ram through apartment buildings against the concern of the neighbors. The development of oversized apartment buildings with zero parking in single-family neighborhoods will be a disaster. It'll be a disaster for everyone else except for the ones who benefit from it, the developers and the members of this board who receive their campaign donations.
Come on up, 3 minutes. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening. I'm Paul Bateman, a 60-year resident and 34-year homeowner on Lloyd Avenue in what is zoned as single-family home neighborhood today. I want to keep it that way. I'm suspicious of this plan and the intention of those pushing it. My suspicion started with the charrettes because they were scheduled during the day when most people work. My suspicion is even greater now that I learned the commission can put this to vote to the voters, but chooses not to. In regard to page 16, that gray area, I think that is fitting and intentional, gray area. The only thing we have to protect our single-family home zoning is with specific terms in the master plan. It appears the master plan lumps single-family and other stuff, I don't know, multiple family, into this gray area, and they call it residential. Boy, sounds nice, doesn't it? I believe this essentially and intentionally eliminates single-family home protections. I'm looking over here to my left for a reason, but I'll not do that. I attended an earlier charrette where I asked, what is the plan for low-income housing? I hear this is going to help low-income people in our city, the people who already live here and love it just as much as you and I. I asked the question. The answer was, oh, there's this program, there's that program, there's this program, there's that program. Not once did they mention what's in the plan. I've looked at it, I don't see anything in it today. I'll close with this. I think many of you saw me on the way in. I appreciate you not kicking me out with my sticker stand. But I have 2 stickers. One sticker is for those who want to maintain single-family home neighborhood zoning. I have another sticker for the people who support the master plan as it is that you will be voting on next week. Please take the time next week to consider carefully what you have heard from your neighbors and the voters, because after tonight, you will have to decide what sticker you're going to wear next week.
All right, thank you. Please come on up. Please introduce yourself, 3 minutes.
Hi, my name's Tom Williams. I live in a Red Run subdivision. I've been a lifelong resident of Royal Oak. I've been benefited from the Parks and Recreation Department playing ball and coaching youth soccer and hockey and stuff. In my twilight years now, I've taken up golf, and I want to make sure that we don't lose the golf course. We lost one a few years ago, which is now a subdivision and a park. But it's a nice golf course, and it's good for people to keep active like me. I try to play as much as I can, and it's very affordable. So I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, come on up, introduce yourself, 3 minutes.
My name is John Gist, and I am here as a resident of Royal Oak for a little over 5 years. I moved here right before the pandemic on February 1st, 2020. And over that 5 years, I have come to love Royal Oak. I am a veteran and haven't had the opportunity to serve in the military. This afforded me the opportunity to have lived in many different places. And when myself and my wife moved to Royal Oak, this was to only be a temporary move. However, upon moving here, we immediately fell in love with the city and the area, and that's saying a lot considering it was during the pandemic. One of the reasons that we loved the city and the area was due to the beautiful single-family neighborhoods and a lot of that appeal that was tied to the low-density residential structures that did define the community. By protecting the single-family homes, we protect the distinctiveness of the town, which led us to fall in love with it, and which was a significant draw for myself, my wife, and will be for newer residents to come. In closing, I would like to urge the council to consider the voices of the residents who cherish the single-family housing model, as many have chosen the town for its peaceful and residential nature. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak this evening.
All right, thank you. Come on up. Please introduce yourself for the record, and 3 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Kraszewski. I live on Clausen, the street, not the city. So at risk of repeating what a lot of other people have said here, I support the master plan generally. I know a lot of people here are focused entirely on the single-family zoning issue, but there's a lot more to it to make a complete city. I feel like it's going to make our streets a lot safer. I have a toddler who I really don't want going anywhere near 13 Mile or any of the arterials. I would never ride my bike on the streets in this town because of the way people drive, and they drive the way they do because of the way the streets are. So I very much appreciate the attention being paid to that. As far as the zoning issue goes, I understand where a lot of the concern in this room comes from, or at least I think I do. I hope I do, which is essentially that if you chose to move here, you moved here and you want it to stay the way that it was when you moved in. The problem with that mindset is It's been the mindset that's guided decision-making here for decades, and it's why the city's population is down, 30 or 40% from its peak. It's why if you try to move here from somewhere else, there's nowhere to buy. My wife and I have been in our house for almost 6 years now. I looked at the Zillow estimate earlier tonight, and it's over $100,000 higher than it was when we bought it in 2020. Not because we've knocked it down and built a Bigfoot. I don't know who has money to do that, but because of an absolute shortfall of demand and the fact that, or a shortfall of supply rather, and the fact that people want to live here and they can't. The places where people are moving, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, the places all my friends from college moved, are places that have zoning and building laws that let you build housing. So, again, I understand the urge to preserve what you have, I really do. But think about what it was when these rules went into place. Think about what it is now, how fewer people there are here. And ask yourselves if it's not time to consider something different. I appreciate the work you all have done. Contrary to some opinions voiced tonight, you certainly have given the opportunities for this plan to be understood and weighed in upon. And by the time of the November 2023 election, I think the details of this plan were pretty well known. And the results of that election were to put a lot of you in the seats you're in now. So I trust you all to make the right decision. Everyone have a good night.
All right, thank you. Come on up and introduce yourself for the record, 3 minutes.
Okay. Janice Wagman. Since the mayor, I was at home, I wasn't going to say anything, but then the mayor mentioned something about wanting facts when people came up. That's what I've been asking for regarding this plan, and I'm not getting any answers. The facts I've been asking for, this appears to be a cookie-cutter approach that was started in other cities and brought here, and you've tried to fit it into our city without validating a lot of information. One of the goals you're trying to reach or trying to solve is more affordable housing, yet we've brought hundreds and hundreds of more, like 825 since 2016, more housing units. None of them are more affordable. It's right in the Land USA document. And the zoning and planning, zoning especially, keeps giving variances to allow developers to come in and build these things without any, I think there was one development where you requested that 3 of the units, I think, would be affordable. Okay. If you're expecting the laws, another thing I heard is that if there's more and more development, then the laws of supply and demand will take over, and that will drive the price down. My question was, how many more do we have to build before that actually takes effect? Crickets, no answer. If road diets and bike lanes, which are also mentioned in the plan, are supposed to decrease accidents, why have they almost doubled on Campbell between Lincoln and 4th and increased on Main? Have bike lanes actually decreased accidents? CMCOG reports no. It appears this cookie-cutter approach isn't working. Regarding bike lanes, do we plan on assessing the actual use, not reading figures from an app that can be falsified? Why do we have share rows when even biking organizations who promote using bikes, say they are more dangerous? Regarding transit, also according to CMCOG, the census, Royal Oakers are car-centric. 97% use a car to drive to work, not bikes. Can you tell me why decreasing parking and parking lots makes sense? Regarding accessory dwelling units, and this is a real concern I have. One of the questions I asked was, give me another city of the same size, population, and climate as Royal Oak. I asked the planners this, that where you've implemented these concepts and they've worked successfully. They didn't answer me. They couldn't give me one. They gave me Toronto, I think it was, and Minneapolis and Portland. That's not Royal Oak. So regarding accessory dwelling units, where they have been implemented, what percentage became short-term rentals instead of places for grandparents? These are some of the facts I wanted to ask for answers, but answers were never received.
Okay, thank you.
I think they, last sentence. I think they are worth answering, not only for the residents, but for you before you vote in favor of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on. come on up, introduce yourself, please, 3 minutes.
My name is Phyllis Salter, and I'm going to do you a favor and cut down about 90% because I agree with everything pretty much that's going on, and plus the guy who they brought in here to do this. But I have this question: is how do those here who took a part in the prior master plan feel about how this plan is being managed with minimal public input and with anxious of those who wants to finish fast? Who decided our surveys didn't meet our opinions? So that's it.
All right, thank you. Next, come on up. Introduce yourself for the record, please. 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Nancy Sumner, and I just want to say there seems to be a pattern in the city of Royal Oak where the taxpayer is not fully informed about issues that affect their city. A significant pay increase was approved by a newly established body, the Local Officers Compensation Commission, which was appointed by the mayor and approved by the city commission, the people in that commission. The mayor received a $16,000 a year raise, and the city council received a $12,000 a year raise, effective April 25th. I, as a homeowner, was not aware of this increase prior to it being approved and questioned why they should get a pay increase when people that are working outside of the government only seem to see typically a 3% increase per year. Now we have a master plan that's being pushed through by the city council without taxpayers voting on this, even though it'll affect property values. This most likely will put rental units and bring down home values in neighborhoods where they're put. We have on one of our streets, we had a 1,300 square foot home torn down, and a home that was 3,000 to 3,500 square feet put up that sold for $1,135,000 just this past year. I think that we should have the opportunity to vote on this master plan and make sure that in the gray area, it's noted that it's single-family housing, not any kind of gray area. As for the sheets, there'll be additional traffic on 14 Mile and Coolidge. Did anyone think about the possibility of the people that are racing up and down Woodward Avenue, revving their engines and making all sorts of noises, are going to come to Sheets because they're open 24 hours and get their gas filled up and eat dinner and disrupt people that are trying to sleep that have to go to work the next day? I live 3/4 of a mile from Woodward, and I can hear all the revving of the engines from spring until fall, even when the windows are closed. Think twice about what you're doing, and I resent the fact that taxpayer money is going to be going to tearing down and cleaning up the area in order for Sheets to build their building.
All right. Thank you. Come on up. Please introduce yourself for the record. 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Sue Melanie, and I live on Clausen, and I'm just really here speaking to calm the crowd down after Nancy's speech there. No, actually, I'm here to talk about something I know nothing about, the scientific method. The scientific method, I think you all remember, and probably some of the young people here remember, you come up with a hypothesis, and then you investigate it to see if it works. I think I'd like to tie this into this process. You know what? This has been wholly unfair, but it's interesting to see. The younger people who spoke in support of the process, they were listened to. They were listened to in the charrettes. I went to the charrettes, and I saw people my age at the charrettes raising the same concerns about protecting my home value, and yet None of that seems to have gotten to this body right here, the Planning Commission. I want to take a look at every single, the 360 comments that were sent into this group, as well as the number of people that have spoken here. Now let's see whether you all should be approving this or not to be sent to the City Commission. It seems like the young people, they were very supportive because they were listened to. I don't think we've been listened to. And I'll tell you, this process has been flawed from the beginning. It's like you had your decision and you were just looking for ways to substantiate it. Now, I, like Nancy, believe the taxpayers are the ones who have been ignored in this whole process. And you know what? One of the young people said the urge to want to keep things the way they are. Yes, I've been here 40 years. But you know what? It's not an urge to want to keep things the way they are. It's I want to protect my home's value. And I don't want it going down the drain because somebody has an idea they want to get rid of cars and make this as dense as possible. And the other thing, if I had a glass of water, I could talk, but the other thing I want to quickly say is, you know what? Nobody has a right to live in Royal Oak. Oh, thank you. Nobody has a right to it. It is something that's earned. I didn't start out in Royal Oak longer than 40 years ago, but then I moved over to Royal Oak. So anyway, nobody has a right for that.
All right, thank you. Come on up and introduce yourself. And for the record, 3 minutes.
My name is Kelly. I live on Sylvan. And over the last year or so, it was a year or so ago, it seems like a long time ago, we had the fight for one of our 1,150 square foot ranches not to be turned into a duplex. Because as soon as they're for sale, these guys come and scarf them up to rent them. Now, because you guys are changing the wordage, what makes me think they're not going to come back in and do that again to a lot of homes? And I watch a lot of these meetings on TV. I come to some. And what I see is nobody trusts who's ever up here. The majority of the people do not trust you, do not believe you. And that's sad. I'm sure you guys work hard. If you want people to believe and trust you, delay this master plan, change the wordage to protect it, single-family homes, single-family zoning, and put it up to vote. And you'll gain a lot of trust.
All right, thank you. Come on up. Come on up. Introduce yourself. 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Lynn Mackey, and I've been a proud resident of Royal Oak since 2008. I live in a 17-unit multifamily dwelling, and it's been one of the best decisions of my life. I'm here to support the Royal Oak Master Plan as a multifamily resident. I value a plan that promotes smart growth, walkability, and diverse housing options. The plan is a step towards creating a more sustainable, connected, and welcoming Royal Oak generation for generations to come. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next, come on up. Please introduce yourself for the record and 3 minutes.
Hi. I wasn't going to talk. I've never come to one of these meetings. I've lived in Royal Oak. I'm Jennifer Mackey. I'm sorry. Not related to the last Mackey. I've lived in Royal Oak for 27 years, paid our taxes, take pride in my home, have fixed my home. I'm one of the few ranches left in Royal Oak that I'm now afraid to sell because probably will be turned into a duplex. But one of the things that I've noticed is none of you are taking notes, so you've probably made up your mind. I've noticed there's not a lot of notes. You're voting in a week, and there's a good amount of people here. I have 6 kids. I've raised 6 kids in Royal Oak. Send them to Shrine, I've sent some to U of D. I've not used the Royal Oak schools, but I pay the taxes to the Royal Oak schools so that other families can enjoy it. All my kids are growing up now. I have 2 still at Shrine, 2 at Michigan State, 2 have graduated from Michigan State. 1 is headed to Vanderbilt Law. Hopefully will fight against things like this. When we moved to Royal Oak, I was an engineer, my husband worked for Cisco Food Service. We went $167,000 in debt for my husband to start a business. He now owns a financial company. That financial company does very well. He deals with high net worth clients. His name is Joe Mackey, and he works his butt off. I hear a bunch of kids under the age of 30 that come into this town and say it's their right to live here. If one of my kids, I have a 25-year-old, a 22-year-old, a 21-year-old, an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 14-year-old. If one of them ever walked into a city council meeting at 30 years old and said, I deserve to live in this city that these seniors have fought for all these years, to keep beautiful and single family, I would knock them out. I raise kids to work hard. They are not living above my garage or in my basement when they graduate. They are going to live in an apartment and work their way to a city like Royal Oak, like all the rest of us did. Yes. I don't know who supports your campaign. I know you have builders on your campaign, people that support you, sir. And I'm sure that there are people that are supporting all of you to get you to let these people come in and tear up our town. And that is a shame. It's a shame. You can make things better, which you have in many ways.
Thank you very much.
But you need to think twice before you sign this.
Come on.
I'm Kathleen Jardine.
Yes.
I grew up in Royal Oak, and I just want to say, I think the football score goes to these people. They won. That's your answer. I don't think you have to go much further than that. They won this game, and I hope your vote goes to them.
All right. Next, come on up. Who's next?
To the YIMBY that said they lived with 4 other people. In the 70s, they called that a commune. Anyway.
Introduce yourself for the record, please.
Nancy Poprovsky.
Thank you.
I've been showing up from the beginning at almost every meeting for the development of the new master plan. Many exciting things were discussed at Churchill, where we were gathered in groups to discuss concerns and the state of our city and its future. Residents began to find out some of their neighbors had problems with overdevelopment or bad things happening in Royal Oak. When topics got controversial, the facilitator suggested we talk to him later, alone. This silencing later turned into a red flag when it happened again at the 10 charrette meetings I attended. The speakers gave us almost no time to ask questions, so we couldn't discuss with other neighbors what was wrong or right about our city. The worst thing about the charrettes was Speaker Attorney Razor bullying and verbally assaulting a non-aggressive resident. Razor was appointed by the city. To this day, Razor has not been punished or apologized for harassing the frightened public. His scary disruption stopped the meeting, where residents thought they would be safe and took time out of their lives to attend. At the only town hall we had, handed in cards with questions and couldn't discuss our questions with commissioners. Some of our most important questions were never read. The commission needs to tell the public from the beginning their neighborhoods might be negatively impacted by the new master plan. This is essential transparency. If the master plan goes through, I think I'll miss peace and quiet due to too much density. Many main streets and neighborhoods bringing more traffic and noise. I will miss green space or open space without cement. Are our golf courses, parks, etc., considered open space in jeopardy of being overdeveloped in the future? I will miss more sunrises and sunsets due to too many high rises. I will miss dark sky due to LED lighting all through and overlighting the whole city. I will miss wildlife who need open green space, less noise and less bright lights, etc. Some commissioners say they want their children to be able to live here. For what? High rises for trees and cement for green space? Well, I guess future generations will never miss what they never had. Thank you.
Come on up. Please introduce yourself for the record. 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mike Thompson, head of the Lawson Park Homeowners Association, practicing architect as well. This room's packed tonight, except for a few YIMBYs, but there's a great imbalance with the master plan. It's slanted one side, the scales are slanted one side. It's pushing density into the city, which is a national effort, and it's changing single family. It's getting rid of the word single family and replacing it with neighborhood zoning, the gray area. So with this, you have a loss of community, you have a loss of privacy, solar exposure, noise pollution, removal of mature trees, green space, cross breezes, and competing for traffic. What we have now is a great protection of single-family zoning. It's the current master plan done in 2012. It's community-based, it's yards, it's homeowners, it's safe, it's 100-year-old neighborhoods, it's mature trees, long-term residents, and an opportunity, as many people have said, for investment and home ownership. So, Commissioner or Casada, you asked for looking at the particular section. So, section number 1, where you have number 1 to read the current master plan, add this to the action point on page 8. Number 1.1 should be preserve, maintain, enhance the character of existing neighborhoods. That should be, of the 15 action points, that's number 1. That's the most important thing to everyone, at least homeowners here. Number 2 is delete item number 3 on the introduction summary of actions, which is reading adopt a unified development ordinance and streamline and improve zoning. That statement represents a government control that eliminates the checks and balances of the current planning approval process. It reduces residents' input, and it allows Royal Oak government to have more power with less transparencies, and you've seen that with PUDs and other things as well. Number 3, restore the current types of residential zoning that are in the current master plan, which includes single-family residential, low density, medium density, attached, detached, and multifamily. So get rid of this nebulous term, neighborhood zoning. It's just going to give developers and others a chance to run roughshod with the city. Number 4, delete the 4 types of accessory dwelling units, detached ADUs. These are going to turn into rentals and Airbnbs and backyards. It's going to be a secondary population. Number 5, restrict development of multi-story housing on land that is already public, parks, golf courses. That's on page 23. And finally, number 6, let's promote the development of multifamily housing where the zones are right now. Let's try to help developers, because there's plenty of them that aren't developed yet. So keep them out of single family. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Come on up. Please introduce yourself for the record. 3 minutes.
My name is Christina, and I am one of the young millennials here trying to be more aware of what's happening in my local government. And I think I have a different opinion than a lot of young people that are here. I am also a family of immigrants who took great pride in buying a home when they moved here. I bought my first home on Linwood 3 years ago, and I now reside in Red Run. I remember when I was looking for homes, I wanted to live in Royal Oak so badly, and I didn't think I could afford it. And I did it. I cried so hard when I sat in my empty living room, knowing that I, as a young professional, was able to buy my first home in a place I wanted to live so badly, in a place where people took pride in their homes, their community, and a place as a single woman I felt safe. The American dream is to be a homeowner. That is what is instilled in immigrants that do come here. That is what my grandpa, who was born in Iraq, raised us to remember. Not a home renter. To build generational wealth, you buy homes. There is a shortage of single-family homes as it is. Royal Oak single-family homes are extremely desirable to young professionals and families, not multifamily units. We already don't have room in Royal Oak for the homes and families that we do have. Don't break what isn't broken. Royal Oak's charm are the homes that we have here and the fact it's a place for young professionals and families to start their lives here like I did.
Thank you. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Horman. I live at 914 Genesee Avenue. I moved to Royal Oak in 1978. A few weeks ago, I stood here in opposition to allowing the Sheetz gas station and restaurant plaza to be built at the intersection of Coolidge and 14 Mile. I read sections of the draft master plan that cited concerns about development of that particular parcel. After my allotted 3 minutes, one of your fellow commissioners thanked me for mentioning the draft master plan. But alas, it is still just a draft, and the commission must follow the current zoning ordinance and regulations in making their decisions. His response would have rung more true were it not for other recent actions by our elected and appointed officials. Insufficient number of parking spaces for a proposed apartment building? Well, here's a variance. Or better yet, why don't we tear down this section of a wall and give you access to a city parking lot? And if your tenants can use nearby city parking structures, so much the better. Want to locate a CDB dispensary across the intersection from a publicly supported vocational educational facility? Oh no, it's the school. It's the school that's located improperly. Here's your approval to build the dispensary. Want to build an apartment building that's too tall, too wide, too close to neighboring residences with too many units and insufficient parking for the correct zoning? That's an awful lot of variances. Well, we'll just approve a planned unit development, a PUD, and now the proposed site plan becomes the current zoning. PUDs are becoming too common, too complex, and too contentious. Well, then it's time for a new master plan that includes new definitions, new zoning classifications, and new maps. I'm sure that everything that our elected and appointed officials do is within the letter of the law and in compliance with applicable rules and regulations. But is it within the intent and the spirit of those? Does it represent the will of the residents of the city? Respect is something that you've all earned, but you have to keep working to keep that respect. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Who's next? Please introduce yourself.
My name is Jackie Peterson. I have lived and worked in Royal Oak for many, many years. I love the city. I am opposed to the direction it's going in terms of these multi-family residences, but I'm here briefly to say I feel the master plan puts my golf course in jeopardy. I feel it's going to be gobbled up just like everything else, and I think it's a treasure that you would be foolish to allow it to be redeveloped into what? Parking lots? Condos? It's very important to a lot of seniors and just a lot of residents here. I think it's very special. You need to consider that.
All right, thank you. Come on up. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Kathleen Klein. I'm nervous because I'm emotionally attached to this issue. Believe it or not, I do community relations for a Fortune 500 company, and I can speak in other communities where I'm not emotionally attached, and I can be very fluid. Here, I'm going to be all choppy and broken up. I want to remind everybody the history of Royal Oak in the 60s was the economic downturn. A lot of the large homes that were at one time affluent wound up being multi-unit divided because they couldn't sell as large single-family homes. Every time a new development comes in, it creates commercial space that is unaffordable. So our single business owners, our small commercial business owners, can no longer afford the rents in these new combined commercial residential units. The key word, and I cannot stress this enough, in these master plans is supposed to be about compatibility. When you take away the single-family residential zoning designation, you start to encourage an atmosphere where developers can come in and buy up 2 or 3 single-family homes and all of a sudden build a multi across and around a bunch of other single-family homes. That is not compatibility. This is a time for tremendous grassroots effort because so many of your single-family homeowners in Royal Oak don't realize that what can happen when you take away that single-family designation. We probably don't have enough time to do a grassroots campaign like that where every single-family homeowner gets notified that this is coming. Most of them probably have no idea. They love to trust their elected officials. Wouldn't we all love to go home and sleep at night and feel that way? The developers will come in and without the single-family designation, buy up these multiple homes, and then they'll sue you when they don't get what they want because it's just residential. We lived through that in my neighborhood in the 90s. We were lucky. We were able to manage and keep something more compatible than what was initially proposed. I would ask strongly. Right now, I live in a one-family overlay district. I still don't really understand what that means, but I know my neighborhood's at risk. I would ask you guys seriously to consider delaying the vote on this. It doesn't need to be next Monday. I believe that's what I heard it's going to be. It doesn't need to be next Monday. You could put it off another month because this is being rushed through. Whether or not they can put it on the ballot, I don't really know the mechanics of that. It's more about focusing on compatibility. It's more about grassroots knock on every single family neighbor you know that does not know that this is going down. And let's wait to vote on this. Let's wait at least another month. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Come on up, take your time. All right, introduce yourself for the record, please. 3 minutes.
My name's Ellen Gendler. I live in Northeast Royal Oak with my husband and son. I got here as soon as I could after putting him down for bed. My husband and I bought our house in 2022 when the housing market was very intense, so we paid at the top of our budget for our house. But we were happy to do that because we wanted to live in Royal Oak. Part of what drew us to Royal Oak was not only our house, but also our neighborhood, the downtown, and the vibes of the whole city. I'm here tonight because I care about preserving the beauty of this city, which is its vibrancy, its diversity, and its adaptability. You've seen me at a number of these meetings because I believe it's important to get involved, and I'm here again today to speak in favor of the draft of the master plan. There have been numerous opportunities for the community to get involved with this process, which I appreciate. I would like to repeat a few points I've made in the past and add a couple. First, as the master plan notes, the population of Royal Oak is bifurcated into young and aging. The future of the city is smaller households, which means we need more housing. The master plan thoughtfully identifies the areas where we as a city can grow and welcome the people with excellent taste who want to come live here like we do. I saw that.
All right, go ahead. We'll estimate.
I don't intend to. I'll be fast. The second, as you've heard over and over again, many of the residents of our city want to preserve single-family housing and single-family zoning. Thank heavens, then, that the master plan does not do a single thing to single-family housing. I hope my older neighbors here are listening because I love the city that these long-term residents have built, and I am grateful for the investments in Royal Oak that they have made. But I've become increasingly frustrated that at these meetings, which I was watching online, I'm not just coming in at the end here, commenters do not seem to understand that the master plan does not change zoning. It describes the character of various areas of the city and lays out proposals for what they might become over the course of the next 2 decades. I have heard the commission and the drafters explain over and over that zoning is a code issue and the master plan is not the code. It's a guiding document. Now, that said, single-family zoning is the most invasive governmental intrusion into the rights of a property owner, telling us that we're allowed to do only one thing with our property. The master plan suggests very reasonable and limited areas where this governmental intrusion can be pulled back to allow for more housing while still respecting the general character of the community. I also just want to comment on the master plan's treatment of roads and transportation in the city. I walk the streets of my neighborhood daily with my dog, and when I leave the very insular residential streets, I don't actually feel safe all the time. I've almost gotten hit with my dog and my stroller more than once in the area of Rochester and 13 Mile. I am in favor of more pedestrian-focused street design and study-indicated road diets, and I appreciate that the draft master plan proposes ways to accomplish this. Moreover, I appreciate that it prioritizes mobility zones, and the recommendation to reduce or eliminate required minimum parking is something that I'm thrilled to see in the master plan draft.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken yet who would like to speak? Everybody gets one turn.
My name is Susan Schuldeis, and I live on Marion Drive. And we moved here in 1984. We were only going to spend 3 years in Michigan, and then we were out of here. Well, obviously that plan changed. We love living in Royal Oak. We bought another house in Royal Oak. When we found out that there were apartments attached to our property behind us, it was almost a deal breaker, but then we were told they can never expand even their parking lot. And now that would change with this plan. The other thing, the perception that our golf course is only for seniors, I kept my golf membership even when I was working, just so that the golf course would still be there when I finally retired. I did it. So now I'm retired and I want to play. I don't want to drive 20 miles or wherever we have to go to play somewhere else. I think our golf course could use some improvements that were promised when they shut the Normandy Park down. And now I just want to say that we see kids playing there. We don't just see seniors playing there. We see school groups practicing there. We see young people coming there at night. So it's not just a senior thing. It's a Royal Oak thing. It also brings people in from out of town, from Troy, from Berkeley, and then they go out to lunch. So they're spending money in Royal Oak. So I just want that to be a point of consideration too. I'd hate to see that become something else.
All right, thank you. Anybody else who has not spoken yet would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you, everybody, for participating. And we're going to come back over on the side of the table, and I'm going to turn to Mr. Murphy and Mr. Twing first, if you don't mind, and just make sure I know what the procedure is going forward.
Nothing further with regard to the public hearing, simply moving on to the next item on the agenda, which are the results of the 63-day comment period.
Okay, and you're going to walk us through that?
Yes.
Okay, now, Commissioner Douglas. Oh, sure. There's a request to take a recess. I think it's a very wise request. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess. We'll be back. Thank you. All right, folks, we're going to reconvene. Please take your seats. If you will, move to your seats, and we'll get settled in, and we'll get back on the record in just a minute here. If you'll have a seat. Thank you. All right. I'm going to call the meeting back to order here in just a second. Everybody have a seat. All right, thank you very much. The meeting is reconvened here. Next order of business here. These are the results of the 63-day comment period of the proposed master plan. Mr. Murphy, you're going to tell us about this.
Yes. Under the State Act, the city must provide notice to different entities called out in the State Act. Those include adjacent communities, the county, utilities, the railroad, transportation organizations, etc. And that 63-day comment period ended last Friday. And you did receive comments from the city of Huntington Woods, the city of Southfield, and Oakland County, and those are attached for your review. They are, under the State Act, they're given the opportunity to compare it to their own master plan, and it's their objectives, and to identify any inconsistencies or conflicts that they see with our master plan and their master plans. And so you'll see in all of those correspondences that there were no inconsistencies or conflicts identified. So that fulfills the provision to notify those entities under the state law.
Question though, I mean, did the consultant get these documents that we have?
DPZ co-design? Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
And I would just make a quick comment that they did address inconsistencies, but that's not all they did. The Oakland County gave a lot of, I think, additional valuable information, and Southfield was very complimentary.
Yes, they were. The county has a little bit of a different role in that their function is to review it in comparison to many county objectives, but also to look at all the other adjacent master plans. And they hold a meeting that was last week. We participated in it, and they invite representatives from other communities to participate in that virtual meeting. No one from adjacent communities participated in that meeting. But you're right, Southfield did the most comprehensive review of your proposed master plan, and that was fairly complimentary.
All right. Does any of the other commissioners want to ask any questions of staff about the 63-day comments or make any comments themselves? Questions? Mr. Cooper.
I just had a quick question because it did come up with regards to the written question as well as what was read. So Clausen did receive our plan for their review. It sounds like they internally did not distribute to their planning commission, but their planners and reviewers reviewed it?
No, it's my understanding that it was distributed to their planning commission, and I did have a phone call with their deputy city manager called this afternoon just to comment about that as well. They did their planning commission as a body did not make any resolutions with regard to the document, and as staff they did not provide any comments with regard to our proposed master plan. But I did speak with them today. As of many of the things that we've undertaken throughout this process, at planroyaloak.com there's a participates, and if we can have some of the chatter reduced, I think that'll help everyone understand that there's a website called planroyaloak.com where there's all the documents and all the process that's occurred thus far. And on the left-hand side of the web page that's entitled Participate, there's a description of the date and action that we took on each of those dates. On the date itself, you can click on those, and those are hyperlinks to PDF files of whatever action occurred at that particular date. One of those is all of the paperwork, letters, and email correspondence that we sent to those entities identified under the State Act. So anyone can look all that up. It's on the website.
All right, thank you. Any other comments about the comments from the other municipalities? Is that a hand? Okay, it was like a fake hand. Okay. Next order of business, procedural steps to adopt the new master plan. And there's a couple documents in here. Which of the staff is going to walk us through this?
I'll start.
All right.
Since you've followed the state act with regard to the process for the proposed master plan, most recently we've notified the different entities identified in the state act, a little tongue twister there, and we've held the required public hearing. You have several different options that we've identified for you at this point, and those are displayed on the screen. So I'll read those. You can consider those, any one of those or any modification of those or something different that you might have in mind. But we've identified that you have the opportunity to determine that additional public engagement or hearing is necessary. You can determine that additional time is necessary or needed to assess all of the comments that you've received thus far, those that have come across the website, those that you've heard today, comments from the different communities, and you also have the opportunity to determine that the modifications are necessary to the document, and you can identify those today and ask staff and DPZ Co-Design, our consultant, to bring the document back with changes that your suggestion. Or lastly, you can determine that the document should remain unchanged and it's ready for final adoption. So we've provided in the packet a suggested motion when you are ready to or when you're prepared to adopt a master plan. So per the state act, the Planning Commission needs to have 2/3 of the membership of the Planning Commission must vote to adopt the master plan. And there is a provision in the state enabling legislation that grants the Planning Commission gives you the responsibility of creating and adopting a master plan. There is another provision, though, that states that in this case, the city commission, the local elected officials, could determine that they have the final say, so to speak, or adoption of the master plan. And they must do that at the beginning of this entire process. So back in August of 2021, the Royal Oak City Commission did assert its right to determine whether the master plan as adopted by the Planning Commission is appropriate, and they'll either concur, or whether they identify changes that they believe are necessary, and they would identify those and send it back to you. So ultimately, the City Commission must adopt a resolution to adopt the master plan as you've adopted it. And there's no statutory authority, actually, under the State Act that allows citizens to protest, petition the master plan. There's no one provision or component that's subject to repeal. It can't be put to the vote of the general electorate. The ultimate final arbitrator is the City Commission after your adoption.
Other questions for Mr. Murphy? I have a question. One of the things that I did not find anywhere in the statute is for the department. What is the department's role at this point in the process, if any, in terms of input or anything like that? You didn't editorialize. You gave us a packet, and in many of the other packets, of course, you give us your recommendations. Sometimes this is void of that. So I'm just wondering if you have a role as a department at this point in time.
Well, I think it's our staff's responsibility to, if you suggest wanting to have another public hearing, have more public engagement, or you identify particular modifications that you think are necessary prior to adoption, it's for you to convey that to us and for us to ensure that that comes back to you based on your directive. Once you do adopt it, it's staff's responsibility to package that together and prepare that for the City Commission to consider adopting. but we don't have any formal recommendations at this point on particular chapters or provisions, just the suggested motions that, rather the suggested ways which you may proceed.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Cantina.
So Chairman Casada addressed it in the opening. I think you just sort of talked about it a little bit. I just want to ask a quick question to reiterate and make sure that I'm very clear. The Planning Enabling Act requires that the Planning Commission take action, correct? It's not a choice that we have necessarily, because the language, in fact, says that we shall, not that we may. And I believe that's the point that Chair Casada made at the beginning, is that we essentially have a requirement as this body to take action. Is that a correct understanding?
That is an absolute correct statement.
Okay. Any other questions for the department or legal counsel? Mr. Mayor.
Just questions in general, or we want to keep the questions?
Well, this is about the procedural steps, because I think the next step is what I understand from the write-up and for staff is that we have to discuss this at this point fully and decide whether or not we want to have more hearings on it, whether we want to vote on it, what do we want to do with it? And we should have a discussion about it. So if we're ready to do that, I just wanted to make sure I cleaned up if there were questions for the staff.
Yeah, actually, I do have a question for the staff. In looking at the written comments that people provided, both on the website and in writing, there were some people, very discerning people, who clearly read the document and found some anomalies in the document. I can think of one right now. The draft plan speaks of Amtrak having 2 trains per day when in fact it's 3. We saw other people provide comments on copy editing, punctuation, word mistakes. Do we need to ask the consultants to make all of those? Have you compiled those detailed corrections, shared them with the consultant, and do we need to make them go through and make those changes before taking further action?
It may be appropriate if you think it's necessary to make sure all of those things are even as maybe trivial as whether 2 trains run a day or 3. If it's something that the Planning Commission as a whole thinks it's necessary, absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say to that point, if you maybe just want to take a note of this on pages 22 and 23, in the notes at the bottom, it makes reference to City Council, not City Commission. That should probably be corrected before it gets to the City Commission.
And there are others. But I have another question, is that this draft does not have any appendix. And the last 2012 had appendices, and other master plans do. Do you know if there's an intention to, say, make the SCAP report an appendix, or any of the surveys an appendix, or the aging in place, or the market study? Are any of those planned to be attached to the document? Do you know that?
Not that they're not proposed to be included as an appendix unless you feel that that's necessary. And then it would be appropriate for you to list which documents you think are applicable to make it into an appendix. So while many of the things like the surveys, the charrette input, all of the public comment that was provided tonight at any other point, written that's come across the website, those all statistics, different studies, those all lead to writing different elements of the document. I'm not entirely convinced that every one of those bits of information need to be included in an appendix, but if you believe that's the case, then you can certainly do that.
Okay, you answered my question there. All right. Any other questions for staff on the procedure here? All right, hearing none, we move on to, I suppose, the discussion among us. What do we want to do with the master plan tonight, commissioners? Mr. Mayor.
Well, maybe I'll start with a few questions and clarifications on the content of the plan, just so we're all level set. That's right, thank you. I'll just start with a few questions maybe and a few clarifications just to make sure we're all on the same page. So first off, what I heard tonight is there are a lot of people that came at public comment that said, hey, you should put this to the vote of the people. I think it's clear that that's not a possibility based on state statute, correct? That's correct. The Planning Commission is charged with it. With back in 2021, 4 years ago, the City Commission, when we started this process, wanted to ultimately have the final say. But really, the bulk of the work here is charged with the Planning Commission. There was a point that was brought up tonight, and I thought it was a very genuine point, sincere point, regarding, hey, on Main Street, there's a couple multifamily developments that have gone up on Main Street, you know, a thoroughfare, or will be going up, one in process, and that the fear is that developers could go and buy lots in, you know, off Main Street or any neighborhood, just buy 3 lots in the Red Run neighborhood or anywhere, and build a large multi-family apartment community. I can't see how this master plan would allow that. Oh, well, I guess I, you know, reading it and understanding our ordinances and making some of the ordinances and voting for them, and understanding how development works, I can't see how this master plan all of a sudden changes the fact that you would have to get all of those lots to be rezoned. You'd have to have those lots consolidated and approved. I guess I'll ask our city attorney's office, would this master plan, simply by moving this to the next level, allow for that to arbitrarily happen with developers? And what is the likelihood of that happening, given everything else we have in place as safeguards?
I think maybe Mr. Twinger or Mr. Murphy can better answer this, but there'd be a number of different issues with that. You still have to go through site plan approval, and in your scenario, you'd have 3 separate plots, so those would have to be consolidated, or you'd still have to comply with all the setbacks, all the various issues with that. So theoretically, unless you went through all those procedures, you'd be have 3 different plots, but you'd only be able to put 1 house on each.
And that would be the same as today, right?
Exactly.
If somebody wanted, and they have, and they've failed at this board, and they failed at the city commission to do such things in our neighborhoods, right?
That is correct.
So that doesn't change. This master plan doesn't change that. We had a question about a study about aging in place. I think, you know, Mr. Karlowski had a great question. There's a number of them out there. One that's an easy read is the AARP did a study of its membership and others, and it was done pretty well. And it talked about ADUs, which is going to be a next question I have for you guys here. But it said 69% of adults age 50 plus would consider living in an ADU to be close to someone but still have their own space. 68% would consider building an ADU house for a caregiver to help with daily activities. And 48% would consider living in an ADU to save money. So while I know there's a lot of talk about ADUs, I know our city commission has seen some of the issues with Airbnbs and put a really strict Airbnb law in place, and it's taking time to take hold. But we have rental laws here today in the city of Royal Oak for single family homes and for all sorts of types of housing that you know, can mitigate and regulate how and what people can do with such ADUs if they ever happen. But I just want to say there is information out there that, you know, for folks that do see this as a opportunity for aging in place. I have some mixed feelings on it, but this isn't the plan isn't the mechanism to regulate ADUs or any other type of rental property. That's our renting ordinances, our Airbnb, or what we call our short-term rental ordinance. That's what regulates those activities. And I know we had the discussion on Dairy Queen again. I just want to say, so when we look at the pictures, whether it's a road design or whether it's what buildings look like in one of these renderings, I mean, if you go back and look at the 1988 plan, there are these big arches that were supposed to be built in Royal Oak, these very huge arches and all of this stuff. I mean, that's really left up to the private sector to decide what they're going to do. So Dairy Queen will be here so as long as Dairy Queen wants to stay. But if Dairy Queen says, hey, look, nobody's buying ice cream anymore, or the auto repair shop says, hey, I'm going to retire and convert my property into a mixed use where Dairy Queen can move in the bottom and, you know, we'll put office buildings up top, whatever it may be, that's up to the private sector. The city does not dictate, a design plan to be built on any particular area. And you can see this throughout previous master plans. There were renderings, there were drawings, there were things like that. But it's just to give people an idea of what people could do. But it's completely left up to what the private side. We don't fund, we don't build anything. We don't, as a city or an entity, we don't do that. So, and you can see in the past how that happened. Studies about property value, I think that came up. Hey, apartments are going to cause traffic congestion, all of that stuff. We have examples on a number of, like on 11 Mile Road near where I live. And we had staff actually go back and take a look to see had property or assessed values or transaction values changed at all. And no, they were unimpacted by developments, housing developments adjacent to our neighborhoods. So when they're placed in the right area, they can clean up an old, car repair shop or an old car wash and have nice, beautiful housing like on 11 Mile. And that we looked at a few examples, and clearly the national data shows that as well, but we also wanted to look in Royal Oak specifically, so there was a study. Talked about Airbnbs. We have an ordinance in place today that's really starting to take hold, and we're seeing a lot of promise with it, and we'll make adjustments as we need to. We don't want disturbances in our neighborhoods, but we have to figure out a way to work with state law, similar to our noise ordinance on Woodward. We're doing everything we can. We're working with the state to pass an ordinance. We can't enforce our noise ordinance on Woodward. That's the biggest problem that we have. So sometimes, we have to be really clever how we work with state laws that seem to favor real estate. PUDs, people said, hey, you should probably do PUDs, and all that at that point was brought up. Yeah, that's kind of what we had been doing, and some of the people that came up here to complain about the new master plan complain about all the PUDs. So, they're a limited mechanism to address people's desires. Sheets came up unusually a few times. We talked about that here at length at the planning, but it's a truck stop. It was an abandoned industrial site, so there's no taxpayer dollars going towards it. The taxpayer dollars don't exist today, and if anything went up there, you'd have to clean it up, and that's what Brownfield is for. And we're also the Brownfield committee. Royal Oak Golf Course. It was said that, this is other open space. So I know there's a conspiracy theory out there that we're going to sell off the golf course or whatever. Yeah, it's on a 2-year contract because the operator owes the city $80,000 in bills that he hasn't paid for water and all of these other things. So, we're trying to help out and work and restructure the deal to help make that golf course successful. But the reality is that could never change hands to a developer without the vote of the people. So that is something we have in place today. Just like Normandy Oaks went to the vote of the people and said, hey, we'll sell off 10 acres in order to turn the rest of the 40 acres into a park. Any change to recreational use on that property would have to go. So these rumors about that, again, are just rumors. And the fact that it says open space in the document, I'm confused, because how would you then put a development in there if it's already labeled as open space? You can't build stuff on open space. So I think there's some wording issues here. I get it, but if you look at the facts of the situation, you look at our ordinances, and you look at what's in place today, these sort of conspiracy ideas, I don't know where they're originating from, and I feel bad for the people that are being told these things, but that's just not the reality. Cookie cutter approach, talking about bike lanes. I've said this 100 times. I mean, I'm not a huge biker at all. I got an orange beach cruiser where one of the tires is flat half the time. I like to ride it. Back in the day when I had a cocktail or two, it seemed a little safer to ride that downtown and go to the library than it did driving my car. But I understand people like to bike, but the whole idea of traffic calming in our neighborhoods, what we did on Main Street, what we did on Lincoln, my kids every day use those pedestrian islands to go and play with their friends on the other side of the street and vice versa. I've noticed, I drive Lincoln every day, and it is much safer now that it's slower. Now, granted, I was always the old guy driving 25 miles an hour on Lincoln with people tailgating me, but, we can look at a crash here or there. The national data shows that it's safer, and I can tell you, I see people using those pedestrian islands. I see people driving slower, and I think that's better for all of us. Taxpayers, secret I pay taxes too. I own a house. So as far as I understand, everybody here as well. We don't want to pay any more in taxes, but we want to make sure that in things like brownfield redevelopment that we don't have abandoned industrial sites that are toxic and creating problems and attracting crime. I'd say that there's a lot of information out here that I think people, a vast majority of folks that came out here today are genuine, have concerns. I've heard some information. Information's been sent to them. People claiming to be credible sources. I'm aware of some things that I've seen that are simply not true that are circulating in the public. There are some things that are true too. I'm not going to discount it all. But it is an election year. We kind of see this sort of activity every 2 years. But the thing that concerns me is there's a fear of, and I'm not, so not everyone said this, but there were enough people that made the comment or comments similar about people who rent their home as if they're lesser, as if they don't go to our churches, as if they don't. Okay, no, and I'm not saying everybody. I heard some statements that say they attract crime. I heard that tonight. I'm not aware of any apartment home development in our city that is a crime magnet. Okay? So I don't remember interrupting anybody during their public comment. I would appreciate, the opportunity here not to be interrupted. So, well, if you want more than, 3 minutes, that's fine. But we have rules and procedures.
Mr. Mayor, hold on. Listen, this is the procedure. It's a fair procedure. He's the mayor. He's on the commission. He gets more than 3 minutes. And if you are going to keep interrupting, I'm going to take a break or I'm going to ask the gendarmes to come because that's not how it works. This is more like a court hearing than a football game. I've said that many times. The mayor has a right to speak. He has the floor.
So, we heard some things like that. We heard about, people don't have a right necessarily to live in Royal Oak. Those things I think need to be clarified when you make those statements because I'm taking people that certain things that are charged with that type of language isn't truly meant. So I would just encourage folks that if you have statements or fears that you think about it, you do some homework, you look at the research, you ask a lot of questions, but I want to make sure that we don't misinterpret what people are saying because I think that really distracts from the arguments. We have a history right here in Oakland County. There are deeds in this city, and you can even look at yours, that have restrictions from the redlining era that people of certain religions and colors aren't allowed to buy your house. Those exist today. They're not lawful, but it just isn't that long ago that the idea of generational wealth, people just don't have the ability to write a check for a house. People serving us in our schools, educators, cafeteria workers, restaurant workers, auto workers, police officers, letter carriers, you name it, they have, maybe, I don't know about rights to live here, but we certainly have a responsibility to ensure that if you want to live in Royal Oak, you don't have to buy a tear-down rebuild at $1.1 million. So these are complex problems. The people that, the neighborhoods that we cherish today, the single-family neighborhoods, the homes that we love. I heard a lot of that today, and I think we all agree. We love our neighborhoods. That's for sure a shared feeling. And, we talked a lot about trust. You have people up here. Commissioner Douglas is 12 years? Longer than that on the Planning Commission, but elected for 12 years. Chairman Casada has been up here for a number of years. How long have you been up here, Chairman? 10 years? Mr. Gontina, 5 years. You have former Mayor Ellison, 18 years on Planning Commission, 20 years serving as the mayor and on the City Commission. So a lot of what we've seen today, I've been, I think, on the commission 14 years, something like that. All the things that we've seen in the property values that we've seen grow in the neighborhoods and the investment in our parks and all the cool things from Normandy Oaks, the investment in public safety, all the things that have created Royal Oak to be this magnet of where people want to live, which has actually created, these really exceptional property values. You have folks here that have had experience working this and keeping the steady hand on it. And we are not going to stray from the strategy that we've had over the last 10 years, 20 years. We're going to continue to move forward with preserving our home values in our neighborhood, just as we have for the last 20 years, 14 years, 5 years, 12 years, 10 years. And when we look at this master plan, we really believe, for those that support it, that this will be not only a compromise for all the feedback that we've got, but a way that we can continue to preserve our neighborhoods. And when I hear things like, I've been told that people can come in and just build a big building and right in the middle of my neighborhood, that's just fundamentally untrue. It's just fundamentally untrue. And so I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, because I think we're all on the same page in terms of what we value. We value our neighborhoods, we value where this city has come from, where it's going, we value the fact that it's really an amazing city, that so many people want to move here. And I think we value the fact that the reason why we all moved here, a lot of us long ago, because we cherished the diversity of the community, both economically and housing stock and everything else. And so I think in an effort to preserve all the things that we love, we need a plan that helps get us on the right track for the future. But there's a lot of work and a lot of things that need to take place after this that will continue to protect our neighborhoods. So I guess those are my questions and my statements.
All right. Is there other comments, Mr. Gantina?
Just a brief one that came up during the public comment that the mayor did not touch on, which is a lot of residents expressed some concern about our aging infrastructure, which is a legitimate concern. But one point that I'm not sure that many folks do understand is that all new developments, commercial and multifamily, are required to have on-site stormwater strategies to deal with 100% of their rainwater runoff, and not just placing that burden into our aging municipal infrastructure. So new development isn't necessarily always bad. In many cases, some of these sites, a new development and dealing with all of its stormwater on site is a vast improvement than the existing condition that would have existed prior to that. So that concern was brought up. The mayor didn't touch on it. I just want to make sure I addressed it.
Commissioner Douglas.
Thank you, Chair. We heard suggestions tonight and in the past that, first, there are 3 elements I'd like to address here, speak to. One is the nature of this plan as a framework, as conceptual. 2, the level of public engagement that we've had in this process. And 3, looking at demand and how it's driven many of the decisions that are made here in Royal Oak. First, as the mayor said, this is a framework. This is conceptual. It will be supported in the past by the actions of the people who want to live here, who want to buy here, who want to build here. And I'm going to quote one of our speakers tonight who said, who asked us, what kind of change do we want? And I think this document is a document that demonstrates the kind of change that we want, and the change that we want is really incremental, because the document says, in so many words, sets as a goal to preserve and enhance neighborhood character. And it then physically defines on a map the areas that are neighborhoods and says we will preserve them. This is the document, this is which we're considering, which we will forward to the City Commission. And I sort of feel like I'm living in 1984 when people are saying, well, you're going to destroy all single-family neighborhoods. No, we're going to preserve and enhance our neighborhoods. So to hear the narrative that we are going to destroy single-family homes is absurd. I am very satisfied with the amount of communication that has gone into this project. I thank everyone who came tonight to speak. As Mr. Murphy chronicled, and he didn't say this number, but over the past 2 years, there have been 92 elements of contact, either mailings we did, events we had, charrettes we had, feedback we sought, public comment, and as the mayor said earlier, there have been about 10,000 points of contact, comments, people responding to surveys, people participating in events, people coming here tonight and to previous planning commission meetings, and especially in an age, the last master plan was 20 years ago, we did not have the digital tools, the electronic tools that we have today to communicate with people, and we've used those extremely effectively, and I give a lot of credit to the planning department staff and to our communications staff to really get the word out, and I do feel that we have adequately, and I see no reason to delay this process to seek further information. But I want to talk a little bit about demand, about markets. 100 years ago or more, people wanted to move to the country, to the suburbs, and they wanted to move to Royal Oak. And builders, developers saw that demand and built homes to accommodate the people who wanted to live here. Now, those builders made a profit, yes, but they did so by providing a service, housing, to people who wanted it, meeting market demand. And today, those houses, those little craftsman-style bungalows are beloved in our city and well kept. And there are people here tonight who live in those homes and love them. After World War II, there was substantial demand for housing as the job market increased, as soldiers came home from the war. And again, developers saw an opportunity to provide housing to those families. And they built street after street of small ranch homes. My first home in Royal Oak was a 900 square foot ranch in the northeast part of the city, and those homes filled up, and the sale prices, I look at what I paid for my house in like 1990 and what it would sell for today, and I go, holy cow. So the demand is there. People want to live in our city. The research that supports some of the conclusions in the master plan is research into what the next generation wants. What kind of change do we want? Because the change we want is not for me here today or any of us, but really for the people who will come here in 10 to 20 years. And the research consistently demonstrates that young people, at least starting out, young people would love to buy a home, but would love to live in Royal Oak, but can't afford it. But they are willing to rent, they like the flexibility of renting and being able to move around. And developers today are looking at that market, at that demand, and saying, we want to build apartment buildings on our major corridors, not in our residential neighborhoods. And these are not high-rise apartments. If you read the document, we're looking at the ideas for 3- or 4-story apartment buildings on the Mile Roads, Rochester, Maine, Crooks, places where there are already buildings of that height, or more important, vacant spots or underutilized land that we would like to see thrive, improve on the tax rolls. We need to accommodate the people who want to live here and the people who want to provide them with the kind of housing that they want, while still protecting those great ranches and those great craftsman-style homes. People spoke tonight about how expensive houses are in Royal Oak. I say, yay. Yes, we would like to be able to provide affordable housing, but affordable housing is expensive, and there is no affordable low-income housing or workforce housing that is built without subsidy. It's just, there's no market for it. And yet the city has managed to find a way to do that. We hope we will be able to move forward with this. Right over here next to the courthouse, we are working with a developer where the city is providing some concessions and some financial support through federal recovery funding so that people can build an apartment building, which in fact serves people with 60% of the average area median income, which is a very generous subsidy. So yes, we as a city are addressing the need for affordable housing. I don't know that it's going to be on Vincetta, but again, I look at the housing values in our neighborhood and I say yay, because people who paid $22,000 for their house, whatever it was 40 years ago, have now seen how much it has appreciated. And I'm not inclined to want to limit the ability of those people to maximize the value of their home. So when we talk about, design standards or changing the way, what people can build, if someone wants to tear down a small house and build a big house, I think the person who owns that small house is going to make a killing selling it to the big house owner person, and I don't want to take that opportunity away from any of you. So what kind of change do we want? I think that is the kind of change that we want, and I think this plan provides it.
All right, Mr. Ellison.
I think just about everything that I've wanted to say has been said by my colleagues up here. But there is one thing that happened tonight that I just really need to address because it's breaking my heart. I've been in this city for 73 years. I've been a homeowner for 50. I raised my 8 kids in this city. They all went to the Royal Oak schools. I spent 30 years of my adult life giving time to this community in various services as mayor and commissioner and community members, and I can honestly say that I don't believe I could find many people that love this community more than I love this community. I have been accused of bleeding Royal Oak blue. But that being said, this is where this comment's coming from and nothing else. I heard people tonight say that people don't have a right to live in Royal Oak. Oh, two people.
Hold on, folks. Mr. Ellison has the floor.
2 people said it tonight. I know it for a fact. The thing that bothers me the most is the fact that they said it, but also they said it in front of the media. So if that gets on TV tonight, there's going to be a statement that somebody in Royal Oak said people don't have a right to live in. So everybody's got a right to live wherever they want. They've just got to find the money, afford the house, and move in. But there's nothing that says they can't. There's no rights that they have to acquire. So everybody in the audience can listen to me right now and laugh at me because they think I'm over-exaggerating. But we had 2 people here tonight make a statement that people don't have a right to move into Royal Oak, and that TV camera picked it up. So if there's any consequences, we're going to be...
Okay, hold on. You don't have the floor.
I didn't twist word. What? How do you?
Okay,
how do you
hold on.
Guys.
Okay. I'm going to ask commissioners not to engage with people who are not keeping decorum. Is there anybody else on this side of the table who wants to talk about the master plan? Because that's what we're here for. Mr. Cantina.
I'm going to first defer to Mr. Cooper if he has any statements before I make mine.
I'll let you lead the way. I'll follow.
All right. So I appreciate everyone that submitted a comment or spoke tonight. The fact that residents are so engaged in their city is what makes us one of the strongest in the region, in my opinion. But yelling your opinion louder or more demonstratively than others does not make you any more correct than those that were more soft-spoken. Every voice matters, and the decision and considerations that we must make up here also have to take into account the other tens of thousands of residents that aren't represented here tonight. This plan prioritizes sustainability. That means more than just things like energy and water efficiency. It means adapting to make sure that we have a city that stays strong and viable for future generations. This plan encourages more housing to account for current needs and trends. For example, multi-generational housing, allowing more families the ability to stay in this community. More housing options for all demographics allows more families to call this city home. Everyone has a right to live here. Increasing mobility options by envisioning a truly connected city that allows for multi-modes of transportation. A greenway paths connecting and becoming a fabric within the city, capitalizing on one of our great assets, our more than 50 parks. And lastly, it clearly states the desire to preserve and enhance the character of our neighborhoods. Our neighborhoods are our lifeblood. This plan in no way recommends infringing upon or removing that. In fact, the opposite. It recommends their preservation. Change, or perceived change, can be difficult for all of us, but we can't fear progress, and quite frankly, we have an obligation to be forward-looking. I believe this is a good, albeit not perfect plan. Perfect cannot be the enemy of good, and this plan is a tremendous step forward in a positive future for this city that's accessible, equitable, and sustainable, which I believe we can all support.
All right, thank you. Mr. Cooper.
I don't know how I follow all that.
You could have gone.
I know. Again, thank you. Everybody that came up and spoke, I know it's a lot to come out, and it's a late night for all of us. But, I mean, these were sent to us. We've gone through all of them. It's hundreds upon hundreds of comments from people that couldn't be here. Some in support, some same concerns you have. I think, again, it's not a perfect plan. I think it's a damn good plan. Someone brought up earlier the scientific method. I think this kind of falls in that bucket too. This is a hypothesis of what we think in 20 years can happen. It's market driven. Things can happen in the world that we don't know is going to happen, but we can kind of lay some groundwork and we work through it as they come up. This isn't a set plan of saying this is exactly what's going to happen, this is exactly what's going there. Things can change and it's very fluid, and that's why we are all here to sit up here and hear those stories, vote on them, speak to them, ask for input. Again, affordable is something I think I would love to see, and I've lived it in Detroit and other cities of building, and unless you have government subsidies, they don't happen. And you think about it, it's building or development is a profit-driven business. You or I or any of us would not invest $40 million into something, and you're not going to see a return on that investment. Construction costs have not gone up in my 27 years in the business. Land prices continue to increase so much that once you add the added land and the added cost of construction, it makes things inherently unaffordable. We've got to try and find a way to do that. So I think this plan addresses areas that we can look at, putting more of a multifamily in those corridors and keeping them out of our neighborhoods. I grew up in Royal Oak. I went to Royal Oak schools. I'm back in Royal Oak for the past 2 years. I live in a single family neighborhood. I bought it because I love the area. I love the proximity to everything. I have 3 kids that I'm raising. I'm very happy here. I think this is a great plan and I look forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Everybody spoke. Okay, I'll go. All right, let me say this. I wasn't going to say this, but just so people maybe know where I'm coming from, who don't know me, don't know what I do. I'm an attorney. I'm a construction attorney. I'm also an arbitrator, and I think that's important because I'm trained not to hear the static. I don't hear from the way I analyze things. I look at the documents. I look at the facts. The cheering doesn't do anything. The jeering doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. I'm looking at the facts. And what I'm trying to do here, and I think it can be done, and I think it should be done, and I'm going to try to do it right now. What does this master plan really say? What does our consultant do? There are 6 goals in the master plan, okay? Reinforce the city structure, sustainability, more housing, preserve neighborhoods, activity centers, and mobility. And there's lots and lots of words, and there's lots and lots of stuff, and it's 100 pages long. But it's really, if you read it a couple times, it's really a very singular concept, which our consultant came in and looked at this place. And what I read this to mean, and all 6 of the goals, by the way, are integrated with each other. They all relate to each other. That's why I say it's very simple. Comes in here, it's a very desirable place to live. We heard it a lot tonight. Property values are up. It's hard to get in here. People want to live here, okay? There's growth pressure here. We have a special place here. In fact, while other communities are losing population, we're gaining population. Our population is trending young. Interestingly enough, only about, and these are rough numbers, only about, I'm 67, okay? I'm also a family, I raised a family here. I bought 2 different houses here. I paid off my house. I'm one of those 67-year-olds who's sitting in a house that I paid for, okay? In a single family neighborhood. I also ride my bike 12 months a year. I also walk all over the place. People may see me out walking. That's where I'm coming from a perspective. But this plan has 6 elements. They're all tied together. People want to live here, okay? We have only 15, we're not going to change the neighborhoods. The whole plan is based on we're not changing the neighborhood. If you read it, there's only 15% to play with because the single-family neighborhoods are not going to change. The neighborhood edges are not going to change. The only thing we've got to absorb growth pressure is the 15% along the corridors. That is the premise of this whole master plan. And he looks at what makes this attractive, and I think most people will agree with me. the closeness, the walkability, the variety. That's why people like the place. I used to live in Rochester Hills. I grew up in Troy. I chose to move here. I don't know how many other people had the same experience. I expect there's lots of them, okay? They want to come here. What the consultant said is, we only got 15%. There's housing pressure. I'm going to say, let's let the growth happen at these intersections and along corridors, and let's loosen it up to allow more housing, okay? That's the whole thing. Just go through all of them. Reinforce the structure, that's the first one. We're basically keeping everything like it is except for the 15%. More housing, that's the pressure. We're gonna, instead of having central business or instead of having neighborhood business or something where there's no housing, we're recommending let there be housing there. Let there be mixed use. Let the developers know they can come in and put residential in these nodes so people can live there and they can walk to the store or they can walk to the Dairy Queen. By the way, I live right around the corner from the Dairy Queen. That folds in nicely to sustainability because people are driving less and they're not using their cars. It folds into the mobility because that's what people like. They like to get from their home to the activity centers. So all this plan is revolving around, we're not changing the neighborhoods, but we want the people in the neighborhoods to be able to walk to an activity center. And we got to make the passages safe. And like I said, if you read it a couple times, that's the main gist. And it's kind of conservative, to tell you the truth. And those people who want to see ADUs there are young people who want to see ADUs and more housing in the neighborhoods, this plan doesn't do that. So you're going to have to wait till the next generation, okay? So that's what the plan says. If you haven't read it, I suggest you read it. That's the gist. And so I'll be supporting it. Anyone else? No one else? Okay, is there a proposal, a motion, or discussion of where we go next? Since we've had our chance to give our opinions here. Mr. Gantina.
I'm ready to make a motion unless there are others that would like to continue the discussion. All right, seeing none. I move that we approve the adoption of this master plan based on the resolution language provided by staff.
All right, I'm going to get to that. All right, is the motion is to approve the master plan based on the resolution that's attached to the package, which I don't have in front of me right now. That's the motion. Is there a second? There it is. Second by Commissioner Douglas. Okay, sorry, it was down there. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the master plan, which will then be sent to the City Commission, based on the resolution provided by staff, second by Commissioner Douglas. There's further discussion. I think Mr. Ellison wants to.
Yeah, a couple of us had concerns about some of the language. And I thought we were going to kind of delay it, give them a chance to correct the language and then bring it back. Can that still happen if we send it forward?
Yes, it can happen.
Okay.
I mean, the motion is on the table.
Well, yeah, the motion on the table is to prove it. It's got it in front of us tonight.
Yes.
Which has got inconsistencies in it.
Well, here's what I hear. Yes,
question.
You're correct.
We're moving a document that we've already identified. It's got some issues on it, and we wanted them to go fix it. My concern is we approve it tonight, and that's it. We don't get those things fixed, and they create problems in the future.
Let's talk to staff about that. What's the procedure for these typos and inconsistencies and things like calling open spaces impermeable when they're permeable?
The document wouldn't change at all if you adopt it tonight. The city commission could send it back with things that they believe that you should reconsider, but we can't go in and change typos or counsel the commission or any of those other things, no. And requires 5 affirmative votes of the planning commission.
5 affirmative votes?
To adopt the motion as presented.
All right. I am a little, okay, so myself, I'm just going to spout off here. I don't like the idea of sending it up to the city commission. If they're going to change the language and send it back to us, I think we could change it ourselves. But I guess the other thing I would say is this. The word I heard was necessary. I realize it might be a little embarrassing to have typos in your master plan, but is it necessary? Mr. Mayor.
So the question I would have is it possible to do an amendment to this motion to make certain modifications that are easily identifiable, like spelling errors, changing council to commission? I'm not so worried about 2 to 3 on the Amtrak because I think it's just an indicator, that there's not 50 trains coming out of there, that there's 2 or 3. But if there's things that the commission has, can we just put them on a list? Or if they're non-consequential, can we delegate that to staff to make any sort of those spelling changes or consistency changes? Or does it have to be the exact document? If we say, like, if you see something spelled wrong, I feel comfortable saying, can you correct the spelling? We'll approve it with corrected spelling.
I believe it would be wiser for you to review, to suggest direct changes and then come back and review those to make sure it encompasses everything that you have in mind individually and collectively versus some language tacked onto the motion that's on the table.
So it sounds like that if we want to do that, we either have to do that right here now and go through the document page by page, or come back next month and take a vote on it after. How do we get it changed between now and next month if we decide to go that route?
You would have to identify those particular sections that you would want to see changed, and then staff would work with DPZ co-designer consultant to have those suggested changes implemented, and it would be brought back to you in the future.
So can we make an amendment to the motion would say that we want to have the typos and the misspelled words fixed, and that you would give that to DPZ, and maybe next month it would come back with those things fixed?
Yes.
I'm going to quote Mr. Gantina, who used one of my favorite quotes, which is that perfect is the enemy of good enough. If there are comma misplaced, if there's a city council instead of a city commission, is that fatal to the implementation of the plan? I don't think so. So I'm not inclined to take any action, and we've been at this for more than 2 years now. I'm not inclined to take any action. I can live with the typos in the document.
All right, anybody else want to weigh in on that?
Just a clarifying question. So if, as it sits now, the motion that it sits now, the document would essentially move from here to City Commission in its current form, no changes. At its discretion, the City Commission could ask for those typographical or clerical changes to be made, which wouldn't necessarily negate anything that's happened to this point, correct?
Yes, or anything else that they see fit.
But they would have to send it back because we have to approve the final. Go ahead.
I think if the city commission had at that time a list of corrections, they could approve the plan with the corrections as submitted. I just don't want to be the one proofreading this document to find all of them.
Well,
Mr. Murphy.
But it wouldn't be the document that you associated with the motion that's on the table, though. It would be a modified version.
Yeah.
Right. We don't want to add steps.
No, I don't either.
My opinion is that we don't want to add steps, but it is a little embarrassing to have the typos, but is it necessary? I said that before. I guess that's the threshold. It's a long document. I am a little bit uncomfortable with the typos myself, but it's not the end of the world. I often have typos in my briefs, so it happens. Mr. Ellison.
We hired a firm to deliver us a document. I would expect that document to be correct. This document is not correct, and I'm hesitant to send it forward because, what else have we missed?
Well, I'm going to jump in on a little bit
Please
here,
do.
too. I think it's fine for you to add to the resolution to direct staff and to direct the DPZ to correct any typos and relabel council to commission. I think that's totally appropriate and fine to send it up to the commission with those changes. It's a simple word to take out council. It's a Word document. It shouldn't take very long at all, and I think that's fine. You could fly spec it for the next month and still have some typos that aren't found just simply by reading through the document. So minimally, I think it would be fine to add to the resolution to direct staff and DPZ to correct those grammatical typos and misspellings and that we find in reading through it. I think that's totally fine.
Council? Hold on, because I asked council if they want to weigh in.
Having read the Planning Enabling Act dozens of times, I don't disagree with what Mr. Twing said.
Okay, so if we could take a vote with an amendment, to adopt the plan, but we want the errors corrected, the typographical errors corrected and the inconsistencies, and we would send that to the city council. When it gets to the city council, is it going to have the corrections? Commission, sorry. See, that's what it did to me. Is it going to have the typos corrected?
That's the intent.
That would be the intent.
That's absolutely.
So they wouldn't have to send it back. That's why I'm trying to avoid ping-ponging back and forth just to correct typos.
No, we would send it out with those.
Satisfy my concerns. So we said it with the amendment saying it's got to be corrected before it goes to the city commission.
Correct.
And I'm good with that.
Okay.
No, it's much like your motions on any site plan, or you might send. You have conditions.
Stands to correct it.
You have conditions, and all those conditions have to be met before we give it to the city commission.
Yeah.
So this will be exactly the same.
Okay.
And what we're talking about here is non-substantive changes that do not impact anything that's been sent to any of the neighboring communities, does not impact what we discussed here today. It's merely syntax in most cases.
Yes, yes, yes.
That is the intent of my amendment.
Okay, so how do we do this? Mr. Gantia, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I have a procedural question in the sense that does he need to offer the amendment that we then take a vote on that amendment and then another vote on the motion?
Yes.
Or do I need to amend my motion?
No, it's probably best procedure-wise. Yeah.
Okay.
You just do
Mike, can you turn off we're getting feedback again.
Sorry.
We being Mr. Gantina can make the amendment, or Mr. Ellison?
Well, the amendment is out on the floor, I already made the amendment. We need a second for the amendment.
And if he does that, we can proceed with the vote on the amendment?
We would vote on we would first vote on the amendment, and then if that fails, we would vote on the original.
And we go back to original.
Okay, so Mr. Ellison has made a motion to add to the resolution that the typos and other errors, non-substantive errors in the report be corrected before it goes to City Council. Is there a second?
City Commission.
City Commission.
That's one of the corrections we need to make.
It is. Anyways, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I'm going to say Mr. Cooper, because you seconded the other one. All right, so there's a second. Is there any further discussion on this or questions for council or staff? How about other comments on the amendment?
Just a quick question. Does the 5-person vote apply to this one? I know we've got to have 5 votes to pass the.
Since if the amendment would affirmatively send it to the city commission, it would operate under the same voting rules, meaning it would be 2/3 of the members of the body, not members voting in present. So we would need 5 people.
No, we've got one member missing.
I'm not good at math. There's 6 of us.
Huh? Well, I'm just saying.
It's five members, or 2/3 of the overall body.
Oh, of the overall body.
So Mr. Esbury not being here does
quorum.
not impact the number of votes that we need.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
Okay, so here we are. We've got the amendment. We've got a second. Anything else before we vote on it?
Let's vote on the amendment.
Okay. All right. I'm going to say all those in favor of Mr. Ellison's amendment say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the amendment passes. So now Mr. Gantina's motion is to approve the master plan based on the resolution that staff provided with the addition that typos, inconsistencies, and other non-substantive errors will be corrected before it gets to city commission. Okay, that is the motion. That's it. And we have a second by Commissioner Douglas. Are we ready to vote on this?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to start down there. We're going to do a roll call vote for this. Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
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 And I'm also yes. All right, motion passes. It's going to go first to staff and DPZ to fix it up, and then it's going to go to City Commission. That's where we're at. Okay. Next on the agenda is notice of distribution and count. Oh, this is Clausen's master plan. The other guy should have brought this up. Tell us about it.
It's purely for your information. If you believe it's necessary to adopt a motion related to it, you may do so. Otherwise, it's just for informational purposes.
All right. Now, it is, anything else on that? We're going to move to public comment on non-agenda items. We only had one agenda item today. If you would, what?
I was just going to say, it's interesting to read Clausen's draft master plan because, you know, similar to Royal Oak, they've identified and are trying to tackle some of the same issues. So it's really interesting to see it in a different community just the same. So
all right.
That's all I'll say on that. Interesting read.
Anything else on Clausen? Okay, we're going to move to public comment on non-agenda items. The agenda item today was the master plan. So if you have something you'd like to address, the commission on something that was not on the agenda, please come forward, introduce yourself, 3 minutes. Is there anybody who'd like to come up on a non-agenda item? Oh, all right, there's one.
A comment on one of the things that was said, that paperwork went out to tons of people on this agenda item. I just want to let you guys know, I never got one piece of paperwork regarding the master plan. Nothing. Nothing in the mail, no emails. Of course, you wouldn't have my email address. But how would you get that information that you said went out to everybody? That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Come on up. Please introduce yourself for the record. 3 minutes.
My name is Josh Taylor. I live at 202 Kaiser. I went down to the city because I knew this was coming up, and one of my buddies, he had a duplex on Lincoln that was grandfathered in. It's been rental. He had rental licenses. He went to sell it. The city said that it wasn't. He ended up losing like $100,000 in the sale because he couldn't sell it as a multifamily. So I went to the city because I have one, my dad has one, my brother, a couple of my friends, just to get a letter saying that it's grandfathered in. And the city of Royal Oak would not give me a letter. I went to Oak Park, was going to buy one there. They gave me a letter and I didn't even own it, stating that it was grandfathered in. So is there a way to get a letter saying my duplex is grandfathered in?
That's a question for staff, and it's a rhetorical question because we're not going to get in a dialogue, but it's something that I think needed to be asked.
Or where do I go to get answers? At this city hall? Because they said no, they wouldn't give me one.
Is that something your office would do?
So probably then community development.
Yeah. You'd have to email community development.
Okay. And then one other comment or a question is, with all the changes over on 4th Street, we have that nursing home that's been vacant for what, 15, 20 years? So I'm hoping that can be utilized as some sort of multifamily. But then that area, that was always multifamily, and it got zoned single family, but there are many, majority are multifamily between Woodward and Washington, north of 4th. what are the chances of getting that zoned back to multifamily? Because that's what it was intended for, that area, until it got switched to single family. Now I'm grandfathered in. If it burns down, then I'm out of it. Then I have to rebuild single family.
Had that in front of us before, and there was really no resolution. But my understanding is that the city's finally winding up after all kinds of discussions going up. But if I remember correctly, the neighborhood was not in favor of that.
Okay.
Okay, so we have to either cross that.
What's the timing?
Why don't you refer them, have them come into the
Yeah.
community development
Yeah.
department?
Yeah,
talk to staff.
you want to talk to one of these guys.
Okay. Okay. Yep, I can do that.
All right, thanks.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Nancy Poprovsky. One time when I spoke, you all heard me say my neighbor moved to a 4-story building being 20 feet from her backyard long after she moved in. It really pains and saddens me that you're bringing up wrong punctuation in the master plan and not that poor neighbor I told you about that lost her dream home. And do you know I watch other city commission meetings online, and not one of them, from Ann Arbor to Madison Heights to Hoboken, I don't know, not one of them lectures the public like you do. On the YIMBY's website, there's an article about the tragedy of homelessness. Then why do you come to meetings, YIMBY's, they're gone, supporting luxury apartments for the privileged, like 505 Lafayette with no parking for the handicapped, or 4704 Rochester Road with no elevator? Where have the YIMBY's been about the Sheets project? You say ride your bike and have more walkable cities. Sheets is about gas, car washes, and fast food, all things we don't need more of. How about you asking the commission to clean up the Plant Sheets site and ask to wait for affordable housing you always preach about? Now that might help who really needs housing. Also, the starter homes along Coolidge will suffer from all the dangerous congestion from unneeded sheets. Keeping the flow of affordable housing down Coolidge all the way to 14 Mile makes more sense for the community. We all know we have too many gas stations and car washes, and you know why? In 2017, the government gave car washes 100% bonus depreciation for 1 year. You need fewer employees to run these places, labor costs are low, and it's an easy thing to put on a site. That's why you've seen the flooding of car washes, no pun intended, Mayor, coming into our communities. So I will repeat why I keep hearing from officials at city meetings. Shame on us for not taking care of people who need housing, end of quote. And by the way, if the city commission is all Democrat, I'm shocked if they're going to support a $14 billion Republican Sheets they are supposed to be boycotting. And then also about the Dairy Queen, why didn't you leave it in the artist rendering so the public could see how dwarfed it would be between the artist high rises? You spent thousands of dollars to say it's incorrect. I think you need a refund. Thank you.
All right, come on up, introduce yourself, 3 minutes.
PG, so you have to be a YIMBY to get 5 minutes and 40 seconds to speak before the Royal Oak City Commissioners. Well, a couple of things I want to point out. Someone mentioned that the mayor got a $17,000 raise, which is certainly more than the average 1 to 3% that even public safety get. And you mentioned your tires. I would recommend that you buy some Michelin Cross Climate 2 tires because they are the very best tires and have the most beautiful treads. And I have some, and I love my tires. You keep talking about the value of neighborhood character, yet you are not paying attention to what your citizens say, who are at the top of the organizational chart, that Sheets development there is not going to be a good fit. Who wants to put a Bermuda Triangle in an area that's already congested? Your engineers talked about the queuing. The study talked about a bias form of the queuing. How many of you have come down Coolidge to turn right going east on 14 Mile to only get stuck there for 4 lights because you've got people in the intersection. Now, what happens if that intersection is full of the traffic that's queued and the police and fire need to get through there? Oh, I'm sorry, they could drive on the median, they can crash into a few cars, they can go up on the viaduct to get over there to the other side if they need to. That doesn't make sense. Now, you mentioned about the guy with the golf course owing $80,000. Why not give him a brownfield? You got the money. And then maybe he can pay his water bill. He can pay his taxes. Why don't you consider every developer that comes to this city that develops a project over a certain amount of money, they give 2% of the development cost to the people, and fund stuff like the golf course, and fund programs for the seniors and for the children. That's a consideration. And lastly, I just want to say, people, you have the power of the vote. We know that there's rumors that Oakland County Commissioner is running this Royal Oak Commission here. That may be the case, and we don't know for certain. But anybody that votes for something that you don't want in their community, you can vote them out. You can vote them out. Incumbents can be beat with the right grassroots approach, and you don't even have to have a whole lot of money. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, Jennifer Mackey again. I felt like I was misrepresented by you, Mr. Mayor, and you, Mr. Ellison, because when I said that my kids don't have a right to take homes from elderly or come into a community and think they have the right to live there, I didn't say because of a race, because of a religious belief, because of a different ethnicity than myself. It was nothing like that. I'm a Syrian. My grandparents came over from Syria. I could be considered, people might not want an Arab in their city, because I am an Arab, but I wasn't talking about that. I felt very misrepresented by you and you, Mr. Ellison, because what I said was, they don't have the right if they haven't earned it. And that's what I said. And I would love to live on Long Lake in Bloomfield Hills, next to Kirk in the Hills. That would be a dream come true for me, to be on a lake with a boat and 4 jet skis and a pool and a 7,000 square foot house next to an NBA player and an NFL player, and hanging out and talking in the middle of the lake like a lot of my friends that live on that lake currently today. So that was not what I said. So I didn't appreciate that, because it's not right. It's not what you said. It's what a politician does, where they take your words and change them. So that was my first thing. Second, I was an engineer, mechanical engineer. I have a master's in engineering. And if I ever sent a plan that had mistakes in it to be signed, I would have been fired, because I built parts for GM cars. My daughter is a paralegal at a company right now that does all the work for GM, Ford, and Chrysler. And if they do not have all their paperwork just right, they lose the cases. And you, as a lawyer, should be the first one that said, I cannot send paperwork that has incorrect parts on it. Because I know that the terminology of a lawyer is different than the average American speaks. And the way that that was written is written in some lawyer terminology. And you should be the first person that says we can have our butts ground if we don't do the right thing and make sure it's right before we have people sign off on it. And just to go through it and have a couple clerks read it, not knowing the intention of the words, is a joke. So that is embarrassing for a county commission to say that, or a city commission to say that that's okay. Excuse me?
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? You know, anyone else wants to come up on a non-agenda item? All right, please introduce yourself for the record. 3 minutes.
All right, my name is Ariana Jeanette. I lived in Royal Oak my whole life. I'm 29 years old. I'm actually getting gentrified out of the city right now. I can't afford to live here, but I'm not bitter about it. I'm actually just more bittersweet that I can't watch the changes because I went to school for sustainability. I studied environmental science. I studied sustainable business, and I'm really excited to see the shift towards a more walkable, bikeable community where people can enjoy nature a little bit more. But I also remember when we had the biggest I guess you could call it a heist, but I don't know if you guys remember Mr. B's, but there was like this huge drug deal that happened behind that place. It was the biggest coke like they ever caught. The Royal Oak Police Department, they got this huge, it was insane. And like I grew up with all like the bikers and stuff and just like, you know, having a good time. And I gotta say, you guys are the crankiest sons of bitches. And I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of these guys too, but like this has been really great to see. So yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Please introduce yourself again. 3 minutes.
Tom Halleck. I just wanted to echo the comments in here. I've sat where you're sitting for years. I would have been horribly embarrassed to pump out a document to the next level that was full of errors, and I knew it. I can't believe that you're doing it. Mr. Ellison is absolutely correct. We'll get around to it, and we'll send a few people to look through some parsing words. That's nonsense. Do your job. Secondly, I would also like to bring to you, I was talking with a friend down in Tennessee where Sheetz is all over the place. And I mentioned we were getting a Sheetz up here. And he said, oh, great, you're going to have all kinds of drug problems. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, where do you think all the late night drug deals go down? Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment, but before I go to the next step, I'm going to respond to something Nancy said there. You don't mind to use your name there. Homelessness. Listen, it's an issue. It's not really in the master plan anywhere, but if you're interested to support the Welcome In, I'm going to do a little ad here. Art and Faith Gallery, next Tuesday, the 15th, 6 to 8, is doing a fundraiser for the Welcome In. So if you care...
My church goes there and supports.
Okay, if you're interested, we'll see you there.
Thank you.
If you want to know.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well,
$50,000 for the homeless in Royal Oak. He's on the board, and he's got a bunch of people from Royal Oak that are supporting the homeless in Royal Oak.
okay, well, hopefully we'll see you there. Okay, hopefully we'll see you there. All right, next. Did you have? Oh, all right, we're done with our agenda, and is there a motion to adjourn, or does any of the commissioners or staff or council want to make any other statements?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned by Mr. Cooper. Is there a second by Mr. Gontina? Is there further discussion of this? Okay, let's call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? All right, very good. Motion to adjourn is passed. Thank you very much.